Welcome into an all-new episode of Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Round, joined by Bryson Carbley, Ricky Raines, coming to you guys on a Wednesday evening. It's good to have Bryson back. Got a lot to talk about this evening. It's good to see you both, and I'm glad we are part of the Weak-Ass Fan Club. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Missed you guys last week. Not exciting stuff to talk about yet again here, but yeah, doing all right, the best I can, cheering for an 0-2 team.
Good, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm over it. I had my days of feeling like shit about this football team. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, baby. I don't know what Steve Smith has ever heard about this, but sucking has never stopped me from being a fan. And I don't think that we're going to suck for that long. And I can't wait to talk about Steve Smith, too. So, yeah, let's have some fun tonight.
Yeah, we'll get into his comments a little bit later on. We'll also get into the game this past weekend. We'll look ahead to the Week 3 home opener against the Atlanta Falcons, do some statistically speaking like we always do. And then we'll end on some bets as well and some predictions for the upcoming matchup. Let's go to the chat real quick here, and then we'll get into what we're drinking. Mrs. Raines here. Hi, tough game last Sunday. A lot to discuss. All plays called after the successful onside kick. Very questionable. Canales needs to go. All right.
Oh,
wow, Miss Raines. Dang.
Mom. Hey, yeah, I like it. I like it. Keep on keep that foot to the pedal. You know what I mean?
Wesley Carrier would pay for a Wilkes protect the bank hype speech at the moment. Yeah, I definitely think we all would, honestly. We need a little juice in the building for sure. Hayden says, let's go, all caps, keep pounding. Yeah, that's what we've all been trying to hold on to.
You know what I'm curious about for Wesley Carrier? Wesley, you say you would pay for a Wilkes, protect the bank hype speech right now. What do y'all think, man? Like, is Canales even the kind of guy to give a fiery speech, or is that more or less just one of those like, hey, we're trying our best, guys. Like, we're going to do everything that we can here. Don't get too caught up in today because we've got, film Monday and get right Tuesday and hold your brother's hand Wednesday and all that other bullshit that they got going labeled days as if they're like pill canisters so they don't forget what to take that day. Do y'all even think Dave's capable of that? Honestly, is that his thing?
I think the team would find it very disingenuous if he got up there and was like, let's go, guys, protect this house. That kind of speech from Canales. I'm just thinking back, like the coaches that we've had within the past couple of years, like Matt Rule with the one of us thing and don't beat ourselves, and then Frank Wright, who was just like a soulless human being standing on the sideline, to Canales. Like, why can't we just have like a normal coach, like just a regular football coach?
Yeah.
Normal does not happen with this franchise. We should be accustomed to that by now. I don't know, man. I don't know what happens behind those closed doors. I don't know. I know we've kind of got a little glimpse of him being kind of rah-rah at a post-game speech once. Canales last year that I remember, where he failed to even bring up Bryce Young when he did well, which kind of pissed me off.
That was just like the going through like what happened.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but he was like yelling. He was at least like kind of yelling.
Yeah, I guess.
Where he raised his voice other than just being like the smiley dude out there.
Like, it's like if your wife is in another room is the way that he was yelling though. Like, he was just trying to make sure that you heard him. It wasn't any kind of like fire to it. I don't know. But we'll get into it.
But yeah, I don't know. It's tough to. I mean, from what we see, I don't know how you can argue that he would, because he hasn't shown that to the fan base. But who knows what he does behind closed doors? I want to go right back to I think the comment from Wesley, and we're coming in hot. And I know, Wesley, you've been in on this show a couple times and have delivered with some super chats. So we do appreciate you. $99.99. We're not even 5 minutes into.
I don't know if you heard that, Wesley, but I just cracked a fresh cold one here to cheers you on this one.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much, man.
And hey, maybe we'll get a raise. Maybe, hey, if the Panthers start winning some football games, we might be able to get more people to watch and enjoy the podcast. Because right now I feel like we've got this like great inner circle of fans, right? What we need, Wesley, is W's to bring in people that want to celebrate Carolina football and not have to lamb it every single week. But we appreciate all of y'all that are in here. And Wesley, we appreciate that super chat, brother.
Yeah, and I didn't even read it. I apologize. Ricky needs a raise. # still better than the Bears.
I'm confused though, Wesley. Do you think that I'm poor? Is that maybe what you're saying here? Like I look.
Yeah, when you're wearing
hair just growing back and
when
stuff.
you're wearing that cheap ass Cubs jersey, I do.
Go Cubbies, go Cubs, go baby.
Carter's in here. Appreciating him. I'm sick. I'm here. I'm blaming the Panthers for my sore throat and cough, man. Fuck this shit. Dave Canales, the seat's getting hot, and so is Bryce Young's. Wesley responded, I'm behind on some of these chats. Canales sounds like a 5th grade teacher hyping you up for a lane field trip.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like trying to get a song going on the bus or something, on the way to like the, Discovery Place here in Charlotte.
Anthony Thompson, Ricky got me crying with holding your brother's hand Wednesday. Yeah, that needs to start trending on Twitter. That'd be pretty funny.
Might be a thing.
You're right. It would not be genuine, but a mental breakdown I would respect. C3 Anthony, what's up? Good to see you. Making true money, fellas. Appreciate it.
What up? Making true money?
I don't even know. Is it? I'm not even going to try to not pronounce that.
Armia Chafsu?
Yeah, there you go. Watching on the treadmill. Thanks, guys. Can't random start already.
Yeah, the kid Ransom. He's talking about late the ransom, I'm assuming. Yeah, dude, for crying out loud, right? We're gonna talk about it though.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Kitty lit, man. It's Benno. This is Bryson's buddy here. Yeah.
Hopping in, my guy. Okay.
Alex must have stepped away from the restaurant business for a little while. We appreciate it, man.
And then Lo's in here. I say congratulations first to Carlo. Him and his family just closed on a new home. So cheers. I'm gonna go ahead and cheers to that anyways, even though there's no super chat involved. Congrats, brother, man. Happy for you.
All right, guys. I think I've went through a half a beer in that chat. So let's. What are you guys drinking tonight? What do we got, Bryson?
I have the thank you for existing Kolsch. I got that for you guys because this is my therapy session, and it's one of my favorite beers. So I got that, not for the Panthers, but for the podcast. And then right now I'm drinking a tropical pale ale from Boonshine Brewing. I assume that's in Boone, North Carolina. It is a brewed with pollen malt, crystal malt, and rare and expensive tropical hops. So I read that and I was like, damn, I want to try a rare and expensive beer. It's pretty good. I can't lie. It's very good, and I'm almost done with it. So I agree with you, Curtis. I have went through one beer already, so I'm glad I grabbed an emergency third on my way up.
Yeah, Ricky, what do you got?
So I got a little twofer tonight, and they go together because this is directed directly at the Panthers. This first one is from Burial Brewery, which y'all know is one of my favorites there in Nashville. It is called Rust. It is a Vienna style lager. You see the
fox on it?
It's a slick little fox right on top of it. Yep. It's a rusty cat-like animal, kind of like these Panthers have proven to be, because I do believe that that's what we've seen for the first 6 quarters of football this season, is a team that just looked absolutely filled with rust on all of the important parts too. It ain't just surface rust. They got rust all over the goddamn gears. They got rust all over the engine. They got rust everywhere. It is bull. But the next one is called Late Night Hype, and it's a vanilla coffee blonde ale from a local brewery here in Charlotte, Suffolk Punch Brewing. And the reason I got that one is because right around that third quarter, seemed like they accidentally woke up. And what I am hoping here is that they got a little bit of late night hype out there in the desert, and that it's going to carry over when they come back home here to the bank where they make these beers here in Charlotte. Hopefully all of them have a nice little coffee vanilla latte like this thing right here, and everyone plays with some damn energy on Sunday, boys.
Amen, man. I think we're all holding on to that little thread of hope from the second half of that game. I somehow landed a case of bottled Spotted Cow. My what am I trying to say here? my father and mother-in-law, there we go, came over this past weekend, and they had some friends visit from Wisconsin, and they got me a case. So Bryson got some of that as well, if I can find the camera. But it's even better in the bottle, I think. So I think that's with any beer, honestly, if we're being real. But yeah, Spotted Cow from Wisconsin. But let's get into this, the talk tonight. And I want to get to this super chat. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. Just trying to make sure we get everything covered here. Thick Nasty coming in. We appreciate you, Du Bois. Who's ready for Bryce and T-Mac to stun on these pigeons?
Hell yeah, Thick Nasty.
Let's
Cheers.
go.
100%.
Appreciate you, Thick Nasty.
Cheers, man.
Not sure where the confidence is coming from, but I appreciate it.
Before we get into anything else, I do want to push our memberships, because I feel like that's a fairly new thing that we've started here, and we're still waiting for our first member. So I'm going to up the ante. Whoever becomes our first member is going to get a T-shirt. It'll be a little bit of a surprise, but I got something that I've been holding on to for a while. For the first member, I believe it's $3.99 or $4.99. I probably should know that. I think it's $3.99 to become a member.
Curtis is playing price roulette with the members. It's going to cost you something, not sure what, but
but our first member, I will send you a T-shirt. So once I figure out who that is, again, it's $3.99. We're going to be doing hopefully later on some discount on some merch that we end up rolling out for you guys for the members. We'll try to do some more exclusive stuff and some giveaways, and I think at some point I'll try to do some sort of ticket giveaway to our members. That'll be 3 tickets of my PSLs. So you guys enjoy games, so take advantage of that. It's on our YouTube page. You just click on our YouTube page, and I think there's a button where you can hit join, and that's how you become a member. And look at that. So we do appreciate Zachary Hernandez.
Of course. It's the legend.
Zach, my man.
Yeah,
It's
who
the
has
legend.
he has been in on this chat, I think, literally weekly, which we appreciate, and the super chats. And you have not won a giveaway yet. So I'm glad that it's you, honestly, because you have given us a lot and we appreciate it. So Zachary, I'll be sending that your way. If you can either hit us up on Twitter and DM us your address, and I will get that out to you. So we appreciate you as always. But again, it's I think it's $3.99. I think I went with the lower option. So check that out. So we do appreciate it. But let's get to it. Let's talk football, because there is a ton to talk about tonight. And let's start with the start of the game. So offense, they get the ball to start. Bryce Young fumbles the ball. We got a touchdown. Next drive, throws a pick. We all see it. It's 10-0. So let's talk about that start. And I think I tweeted out, and I think this kind of, resembles of what really happened. You literally could not make this start up. It was awful. It was like the bad of the bad or the worst of the worst. You pull that out, and that's what happened in this game on the road. So talk to me, guys. When that transpired, I think Ricky, you were flying home from a concert.
Driving.
You were driving. Yep. You're like, holy shit, they fumbled.
Y'all start first. Y'all start first, because I want to hear y'all's reaction of actually seeing it. Like, I had to watch it later, right? But I want to hear how it made y'all feel in that moment.
Yeah, Bryson, kick us off.
Man, I've almost grown numb to it. It's to the point where I expect something bad to happen within the first couple of drives, which is not something I'm proud of or excited about. It's just it is what it is. They obviously start the game and put themselves in such a hole that they almost complete the biggest comeback in Carolina Panthers history. That's how big of a hole it was. And, obviously came up short, but this team is not a team that is built to play from behind. It is not a team that is going to go down by multiple scores and consistently get back into games. So, Canales has talked about it, and it's important for them to start at least without turnovers, but possibly start fast and get some points on the board and score and be consistent and play that complementary style of football, because I think the defense has improved. We'll get into that, but I think if the offense can stop shooting themselves in the foot, and Bryce has to learn how to take a sack. Sometimes the sack is the best play. You don't have to try to force the ball like he did on that interception. And then he did take a sack and then he fumbled. So he has to work on that, holding onto the ball when getting hit during a sack. So it was like when it happened, I was watching again with my wife, and her words were, "Oh no," and I was just there staring at the screen, just like with a blank stare, really no feeling whatsoever, just numbness. And it's like it's sad, it really is, but again, like it's like I've almost grown used to it, man. And I want to get to a point where I'm excited for starts of games, but it's like you got to get through the first 2 quarters of football, of Carolina Panthers football, to see like somewhat competent play for this team, what it feels like through the first 2 weeks. And that's not winning football. You're not going to win very many games, if any, whatsoever. We talked about the Saints being the worst team in the league. The Saints have played scrappy football through 2 weeks against some decent teams. They're in games, and the Panthers, week 1, we know what happened. Week 2, they were in this one, but by like a miracle almost, and it's just not acceptable. I think obviously the fans deserve better, but I think if Bryce Young can correct some of these mistakes he's making early on in the games, then we can be in most of these games and maybe win a few. But he just has to settle in a lot quicker. And we go back to the preseason. We talked about, I listened to you guys last week, how it's obviously very important for Bryce to get the feel of this game early on, and him getting, what was it, 6 drives, 8 drives, whatever it was during the preseason, obviously isn't enough. Like how many times do you have to look this problem in the face to say, okay, we are not doing the right thing. Let's do the right thing. Let's play him. It's obviously worth the risk of him potentially getting injured in the preseason. That risk is outweighed by the slow start that Bryce has showed, in games and at the early beginnings of seasons. So play him in the preseason. Please just hold on to the ball and learn how to take a sack, and then I think we'll be all right. I think this team. I think this team is a lot better than what they've shown, and I think they can play up to that level, as long as they're just protecting the ball. Taking it away like Dave Canales talks about, and then protecting it. Obviously, 2 of the most important things in the sport, and Carolina hasn't done that very well through 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think you had numbness was a great way to phrase it, to be honest with you. Just to set the scene a little bit, I was working on 1-year-old birthday toys. I was literally building a grill right before the game. So I didn't even get to like enjoy any of the preseason. I was trying to scramble to get a grill together. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's 4:00 already. I better turn on the actual game itself. So I was kind of rushed into it. And then the fumble happened, and it wasn't even like I was yelling. I'm just like, here we go again. You got to be shitting me. And I remember in the commercial break, I went upstairs because my wife was dealing with a screaming child. And I told her, I was like, they literally just fumbled and Cardinals scored a touchdown already. And it's like 15 seconds into the game, 20 or whatever it was, a minute. I don't even know at that point. But it's just like and someone in the chat even said it. I think we're just so used to the shittiness of starts of games at this point that it's just like, holy shit. Like we're used to it. We really are. But man, Bryce Young, he needs to find a way to be better with ball security. He had an issue with this last year, and then I thought there were some games where he got better at it when he was getting hit. But he needs to learn to play the next down, and it's okay to take a sack. It's okay to just let the drive go and punt it away. They're much more better off doing that than what has transpired these last couple of weeks. And I know he hasn't gotten help with the line in some of those instances, like this past week, the interception. I mean, he was getting sacked, but it's hold on to the ball and live to see another drive. And I think he needs to take that approach. And honestly, there was a point where I was thinking, why don't the Panthers run the ball literally 6 times in 2 drives, even if it's a 3-and-out, just to get over that hump of those first 2 drives, and then let's move, because it just seems like the first 2 games, man, it's like those first couple drives, it's just a hurdle to get over. And if you can get past that, they're all right. And there's still things to clean up as the game goes on. But yeah, like most teams, I should say, 99% of teams are not going to win a game when they go down 10-0 in the first quarter off of turnovers. It's just not going to happen. And especially for a team of this caliber, you can't do it. You're not going to win football games. It's a recipe for disaster.
So the fumble, this is the interesting thing, and I'm glad this is OPM from Twitter. I know that. This is Nato Jenkins. I'm glad that you said this, Nato, because this was the first thing I thought of when I watched the beginning of the game, right? Like you said, I was traveling back. So I missed up until the goal line stance, I believe it was, when I got back, when we were going forward in the goal line. Or no, Cardinals, when they were throwing the ball to the Marvin Harrison Jr. after the interception. Or not interception, pass interference. Christ almighty, Rick. Use your words, man. The pass interference on Mike Jack. And then they, go for the fade in the end zone. He says, Ken, put it on Bryce, but when are we going to hold the line accountable? So here's the thing about the fumbles that I've been thinking, guys. And we've seen some stats come out about the people that or that kind of show how many fumbles all these other quarterbacks have had. Will Levis is another guy that he didn't even make that because Will Levis isn't playing currently. But Will Levis has lost as many fumbles and had as many fumbles as Bryce Young has in his career or in the last 2 seasons. And he's played like 15 less games. So I think what people look at with these fumbles is another thing to try to link and say Bryce is too small to hold on to the ball. Now, I don't think that it's always that, right? But I think that for a lot of people that already have a predetermined opinion on Bryce Young and why he's not good in their mind of being too small, not having a big arm, all those types of things, right? I think that when they see him drop this ball, they're like, he's too small, he's too weak, he can't hold on to the ball. I don't really think that's the case with fumbles. I just don't buy into that. I think that the fumbles a lot of times are you're not being super protective with the ball, or second of all, the defender makes a really good individual play to punch the ball out and knock the ball out. If a person is going down and they are trying to protect not only their body but the ball, they could be in a weird position. If a defender gets their weight and their power on it, they're going to knock that ball out, man. A lot of times you see it. Josh Allen has it happen to him. Josh Allen's gigantic. Will Levis, the guy I was just talking about, is one of the bigger quarterbacks and stronger quarterbacks. So I just think that maybe sometimes, man, we have this preconceived notion too about where Bryce's flaws are and it comes to his size. That being said, ball protection, no matter your size, no matter your position, it doesn't matter, man. You can be running back, receiver, tight end, quarterback, whatever it is. If you're a skill position player and you got the ball in your hands, your number one responsibility is to protect it and keep it for your team. That is it, man. I mean, you saw Aaron Glenn. He cut the punt returner for the Jets because he fumbled the ball in game 1, right? This is a guy that had played for them. This is a guy that they expected to make an impact on special teams, and he cut him because he said, we're not going to give the ball away. Now, you're not going to cut your starting quarterback, maybe franchise quarterback. You're not going to cut that person. But what you can do is absolutely say, hey, that's shortening your leash, bro. You have to hold on to the football and make smart decisions. And I think that if Bryce Young, and I don't want to get ahead of myself and talk about this week, but if Bryce Young and this offense aren't starting behind the 8 ball as bad as they have, Bryce has said that he thinks that we're a much better team than we've shown. I'm not sure I'm there yet, Bryson, that we're much better, but we're definitely not this bad as how we've started the games. And that's evident by the adjustments that they make in the way that they can finish a game. We'll see this week. But for the start of that game, man, it absolutely sucked, and it just feels worse because of the way 2 weeks last year went.
Let's go to the flip side here now, talking about Bryce. Let's talk about him finally settling into this game. And Ricky, I'll start with you on this because I've seen this question come up, and it's not that I agree with it. I just want to get your take on it. Do you think his success in the second half, what would you put it more on? Him finding success within the offense and becoming more comfortable? Or do you think it was because Arizona kind of laid off the reins a little bit and we're kind of playing almost a prevent? Or do you think it's kind of a mix of both?
They weren't playing prevent. I'll go ahead and say that now. They did not change the way that they attacked. They might have used a couple different coverage shells. They might have played man on a handful of reps, but they didn't change. They didn't give up. They didn't concede anything. What happened was, if you watch, the first half, there's a lot of pressing, and cover 4 messed us up, and they were trying to get chunk plays. When we came out after the half, they started, people will call it dinking and dunking. They started taking what the defense was giving. Bryce Young started making quicker decisions. I will say this too. Bryce didn't, in my opinion, he still didn't look 100% confident in the pocket. I saw a little bit of moving that was unnecessary movement. He might have moved the pocket a little bit early on a couple of times, but his eyes were down the field. His pocket management did get a little bit better, and he was looking for short passes. Now, that's not because Arizona just played prevent. That's because of their defensive scheme. Man, it's the reason that teams can do it to us. When you're playing off man coverage or off zone coverage, right? There are going to be openings, and it depends on how quickly you can process. We saw some motions go on to kind of identify what was going to happen. They do a lot of post-snap rotations. They do a lot of really interesting things, and their defense, I think, did confuse Bryce a good bit with their post-snap stuff. I think that those coverages absolutely gave him more to think about than what he would like to have on his plate. But they did a really good job, and I give Canales credit for this too, in that second half of dialing up the right things. And they played a little bit smarter. The offensive line still was an issue. But again, when you are playing a quick pass game, and everyone asks why we didn't run, for me, man, it's because that quick pass game acted almost like a simulated run game at times, that they were able to get those little chunks instead of trying to grab 15, 16, 17 yards downfield, right? So I don't think that was an Arizona letting their foot off the gas. I think, to me and what I saw, it looked a whole lot more like the adjustments that we made, because Arizona tried to counter. The Cardinals tried to counter what we were doing and still didn't have success until the very last drive, when all we did was dial up long developing routes with an offense that had just been on the field that was visibly gassed. I mean, you saw the receivers in the offense moving around out there. Everybody was spent, especially Teteroa McMillan, who had been pretty much the only weapon all day, right? And yet you're dialing up these long developing routes when you could have dink and dunked it. You could have ran the ball. You still had a minute 58 seconds. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion though on that second half. That it's not at all given.
Yeah, I agree. Before I go though, I do want to hit the super chat real quick from Alex. He's got to get back to work. Liberty Yankees and the Mets play tonight. He'll finish later and see us for the Jets. I don't know about that. Maybe. We'll talk about that.
Cheers, man. Good luck tonight.
Yeah, cheers, Alex.
Yeah,
get killed up there. That's a good thing, by the way. Not physically, I meant at the bar. I hope you get very busy.
Thanks for clearing that up, man. I appreciate that, because that could have
sounded bad, huh?
But yeah, I do want to make it clear what I was saying about Bryce to begin the show was not to detract from my belief in him. I still do think Bryce is going to be the Panthers quarterback for a long time, and I think that he has the ability to, we saw, like what I'm about to talk about in the second half, be one of top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in this league. I mean, he threw for his career yardage, threw 3 touchdowns. That pass to Hunter Renfrow on the goal line was disgusting. He should have had a touchdown to JT Sanders. I think Sanders should have come down with that ball. That was a beautiful pass, hit him in the hands. And then, I think just overall, we saw, I don't agree that the Cardinals are playing prevent defense and allowed the Panthers to score 20 points unanswered and get back into the game. I don't think that was in their game plan. And when you saw the camera pan over onto the Cardinals head coach's name slipping my mind, Gannon, he wasn't happy. He was upset when the Panthers scored. This wasn't something where it was like, okay, we're just letting them do it because we're up by so much. I don't agree. I don't agree with that sentiment at all. This is the NFL. The Lions blew the Bears out, put a 50 burger on them. There's no taking your foot off the gas in this league. Like, teams want to win and they want to win by big. So I just don't think that's true. And Ricky talked about other reasons why. So Bryce settled in, and if we can get this Bryce for a whole game, man, it's going to be exciting. And I do think that's coming. Unfortunately, at this point in his career, it's just going to take some time to get into the swing of things, into an NFL season. And maybe that's this weekend at home, first home game versus the Falcons. Or maybe it's not, but I do think it's coming. And I think when it happens, Carolina is going to be battling with, whatever team they're playing to win that game. So I really liked what I saw from Bryce in the second half. Teteroa McMillan, God, I love him. He is a superstar wide receiver. He really is. That's probably the best draft pick we've made in a very long time. A very
I love it.
And imagine where we would be if we didn't draft Tetero McMillan and Xavier Legette was wide receiver 1. I mean,
we'll get into the conversation. You guys love to jump ahead. It drives me nuts. Let me go with Bryce Young here for a second.
That was more about Tetero McMillan, but
yes, we'll get into Ted. I want to talk about him next. But Bryce Young, Bryson talked about it. One of probably my top 5 games for him. Just the excitement of the second half and the comeback. Ricky, you touched on it. I feel like the Panthers were, dealing with, whatever the defense gave them, that's what they were going to do. And it might have been just a 5-yard or a 6-yard play here and there, but that shit added up. I mean, we're getting 14 play drives that were ending in a touchdown. So I thought Bryce Young was magnificent in the second half. Like, I don't know how, any way you slice it, everyone was dogging me after that first half, all my friends back home, and not one of them said a damn word the second half because they came back. The only thing they complained about is why the hell didn't they throw the ball to McMillan in that last drive? But no, I mean, Bryce Young, Bryson, you kind of stole the show on that. That throw to Hunter Renfrow was incredible in the end zone. I mean, he threaded that ball in there. I don't know how the hell he found a window in there, but he did, and it was a damn good throw. And he just, man, the excitement I had in that game, and I think this is the game, Bryson, you were over at my place for this, reminded me of the PJ Walker Falcons game a couple years ago. When like everything that transpired towards the end of the game, like I was jumping up and I was screaming this past week. Like it was crazy. All the stuff that transpired late in the game for them to be in this game. So, yeah, man, I was excited for Bryce Young. It reinstilled more of that hope that I had this past season, because that first week I was just so down. And even in that first half of this game, I'm like, holy shit. Like, are we going to be on the teetering of the questions? I mean, it was even asked after the game, I think. I can't remember who, and probably was David Newton. Were you considering benching Bryce Young at any point in this game? I think someone had asked that. But, like, that crept up again when they started off so bad. And I'm like, oh, my God, here we go again. But, he showed out in that second half, and I love every bit about it. And let's go into Tetero McMillan here, because the guy's in the running, and I don't know if it came out today because I haven't been on Twitter as much, but he is in the running for Rookie of the Week, I believe. I don't think that has been decided yet. That might be decided tomorrow. I'm not sure. But outstanding game, 100 yards. Let's talk about it. Bryson, you touched on it a little bit. And let's go to you, because you were the one pushing for this guy in the draft. And I guess for me, talk about his performance. But are you also surprised, because I believe you were one of them out of the 4 or 5 or 6 of us that made the predictions at the start of the year, that he does not have a touchdown yet? It's like, when is it coming? So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, they ran a play in the red zone, threw him one up there. I don't think it was the best ball, or I don't. Maybe Ricky can touch on it. It might have been not a great route run, but when I looked at it, I thought the ball placement could have been a little bit better from Bryce for Tetero in the end zone there. But yeah, I mean, it is surprising when you have a receiver of his stature through 2 weeks, the yards that he's put up, and he hasn't gotten a touchdown. But again, I think that comes along with the struggles that this team has had. And in the end zone, they've always liked that slot receiver, the Thielens and the Renfros this year. The Cokers, they like that option there. So I would love for them to get McMillan one. I thought he was going to have one when he caught that slant and took it. What was it, like 40 or 50 yards? I thought he was going to take it to the house. But
I wanted that so bad for him.
Oh, dude, me too. And unfortunately got caught from behind. But yeah, I mean, T-Mac is T-Mac. Like, he's what I thought he was. They are who we thought they were, and that's T-Mac for me. And he's just an electric player that has a crazy catch radius. He has like 2 of the best catches that in the NFL that hasn't counted. Like that one out of bounds he caught one-handed in this game. I think those are going to happen when they do count at some point in this season, and he's going to be all over ESPN and Twitter and all kinds of stuff. And he's deserving of it because there's not much he can't do at that position. Again, I tweeted it before week 1. I think he's going to be the best receiver in Panthers history when he's done. And I said it on the show, when he's said and done, wearing the jersey, I think he's going to be the best to ever do it in Panthers history. So I think it's just like sky's the limit from here. 2 weeks in, he's already looking like a pro. Like he's been in the league for years. He's not dropping balls. He's getting open. He's being a reliable target for Bryce Young, and I think it's just going to get better and better week in and week out.
If someone wasn't rooting for Teteroa McMillan to become the franchise's best receiver and supplant the man who is there right now at number 1, you probably got a little added motivation here in the last day and a half. We're going to get to that later. Couple things I want to touch on before I go into my thing with Tet. First, my guy Panther Bo. Don't see any ropes on the hats. Gang looks cool. Appreciate you, Bo. We try our best not to have as many ropes as we can. OPM brings up a good thing here, NATO. Only thing I hated was the lack of urgency on those 14 play drives. So you don't have to necessarily play no huddle for all of that, but there should be a tempo, right? And it's a good point to prove, or a good thing to point out, where when you're down 3 scores, which is what it was 27-3, right? When you're down 3 scores, you should have a little bit of pep in your step. You should understand that if you do the mathematics on this, right, the likelihood of us getting more than 4 or 5 possessions left in this game is slim. It's very slim for us to be doing this, right? Or expecting it. We ended up getting a couple of bonus possessions, I think, in this game, which really worked in our favor. But had we just gotten the expected allotted amount, we would have been up against it, man. Like, it wouldn't have been as feasible for us to get back in this football game. So I think that the urgency is something not only with the execution of the plays in the game, but getting those plays in, right? Like, I want to see everything have a little bit more tempo to it. And maybe that's the sideline. Maybe it's Bryce. Maybe it's just the communication from both ends. But something has to speed up. As for Teteroa McMillan, I'm not surprised. I am surprised he doesn't have a touchdown because I asked him to have a touchdown last week with my bet. I also did think that he had multiple opportunities. Not that like he messed those opportunities up, right? But that the team was set up in ways for him to have opportunities to get into that end zone this week. And I think it looked apparent that they could have tried to force it to him. But those plays to Hunter Renfrow, that's part of why Hunter Renfrow is seeing single coverage, right? And or against zone or whatever, and he's finding those soft spots, is because T-Mac is gaining some attention, man. Like, he is already becoming this notable figure on the offense that defenses have to account for. Now, some of that's by default because nobody else is stepping up and proving that they can do it. Bryson, you brought up the throw to T-Mac on the left side. I just think that looked like a not miscommunication, but like a timing issue, not knowing exactly what each other is expecting you to do. Could T-Mac have turned on his inside shoulder as opposed to going for the outside shoulder? Maybe, and he might have been able to pluck that thing. But I don't think that's the way that it was thrown. I think that it was just a timing and not having familiarity with the receiver. And look, man, we saw it in the preseason, right? Where a throw is made and it's off by these milliseconds, right? Like really the timing is off just so ever slightly, and T-Mac is acknowledging. He's like, hey, my bad. This one, maybe I think Bryce touches the C on his chest, right? Hey, my bad. Like, I think that they get this down, and when they get it down, it's going to be a problem for defenses because T-Mac has the physical frame to box out, to extend over just about any defender. I mean, who are we talking about? Maybe like the Seattle Devin Witherspoon and their other guy. I can't remember his name right now. I'm completely drawing a blank, but he's 6'4". There's not a whole lot of defenders that are going to physically match up with him in goal line situations. If we're going to do jump balls, Bryce is going to have to get a little bit better on some of that too, though. The placement on some of his 50-50 balls has to be more favorable for his receivers. I know what he is aiming to do by throwing it towards the sidelines, and a lot of times throwing it out of bounds. He's trying to make it so it's his guy or nobody. But I'd say on a high percentage of those throws, it's nobody, right? You got to at least give your guy a chance. I don't think that was the case with this one. I think it was just a miscommunication, a timing thing with that route. But T-Mac, no, man, I'm very proud of what he's done. Surprised? I don't think so. The three of us all talked about this in a way of like, we expected this to be out of the gates wide receiver 1. He's just kind of proven it. There are some people that didn't like T-Mac coming out. And then there's Bryson, who absolutely loved him and nailed it, hit it on the head. So he gets to take his victory lap. And the guy that doesn't will probably just say that this whole city is a hater because they like the guy who is playing and is good. You know?
Amen to that. I will say this. It's about time the Panthers have a threat at wide receiver that teams are threatened by. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, and it's only 2 games in, guys. Like, the sky is the limit for this dude. He is going to be special.
We did talk a little bit about his yards after catch play that he had that time where he trucked the defender, but he spun the opposite side and ran that boundary, ran on the sideline. That's wildly impressive, right? Like,
yeah, you stole my thunder there. That was my favorite play of his.
Well, I thought you already. It was the third.
No. It was the 3rd and 7. It was the 3rd and 7 play. I think you're talking about where he caught it and he kind of spun out and he got the first down. That was massive for the game. So that was my favorite play. And I know the one that Bryce was talking about, I thought he would take it to that was 2 and he got caught from behind. But that one on 3rd and 7, that was huge in the game. So that was probably one of my favorite plays. And I just feel like, I think the broadcast was talking about this, that he's worked on, and maybe this was the coach. I don't know. Maybe I was listening to someone on a podcast where he's been working with when he catches the ball, what foot he's landing on and how he can get out of the defense and, make it and get yardage upfield. So anyway, I thought that was huge for him. But I want to go to the flip side of this and talk about Xavier Legette. And I'm going to go to Ricky Mom's comment here because I had a banner, but I feel like her question was better than what even I had. So she says, it's not a church league where everyone has to play. We bench Bryce for poor play. Why not Legette? And honestly, that was the banner. That was the banner I had. Is it time to the bench Legette? And I had tweeted this out, I think, after the game that for a guy who I thought Legette was going to have a solid year. I remember talking about before the season. And I didn't think it was time to be out on him. But I've seen enough where the effort isn't there and the play isn't there, and that's when I have an issue. And when you got a guy dogging back on a 2-minute offense trying to score before half, and Bryce Young's trying to huddle up to the line and get things snapped, and you got a guy dogging it, and then he finally sprints at the last second over, I have issues with that. When you got a guy dogging it, when Bryce Young's throwing the ball and it looks like you don't give a shit, I have a big issue with that. So I do think, and I wasn't a proponent of benching Bryce Young last year. I'll admit that. But if you're going to do it to Bryce Young, let's see it when you got a wide receiver who's looking like dog shit and is probably statistically the worst wide receiver across the league right now. When the amount of snaps he took in the first 2 games. He had eight targets last week for -2 yards. Like, that's unacceptable. And I understand this room. You can call it thin without Coker and Bryson Tremaine, some of these other guys. But you know what? David Moore's catching the ball when it's thrown his way. We don't want to talk. Jimmy Horn hasn't got an opportunity. He's got a speed factor. We haven't seen that untapped yet. So I think there's ways, and I do think it would drive Xavier Legette to play better, practice better, and kind of, put a foot in his ass and say, hey, you need to get going here. Like, this isn't good enough. And maybe they're waiting maybe one more game because the heat is there now. Like, they have asked, are you going to bench Bryce Young? Are you going to bench Xavier Legette? I'm sorry, Xavier Legette. And that heat is there.
David did also ask if he was going to bench Bryce Young.
But the heat is there now. Like, and the heat was there last year with Bryce Young. Because remember, after week 2 last year, they asked, are you still behind Bryce Young? And Dave Canales said, yeah. And then the next week, it's Andy Dalton starting. So I don't think we can take Dave Canales' word and say he's doubling down and backing Xavier Legette, because it's the same guy who did the same thing with Bryce Young last year and turned the tide after the week or into week 3. So I think that fire is there. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I think that's true. And if Legette in this next game in Atlanta comes out and is flat and he doesn't have much, I do think there's a real possibility they pull the trigger and bench this guy. And I think it's warranted because the effort for me is the biggest question. And I've seen a lack of that on some of the plays. And I'm not saying everything. Like, there were balls thrown this past week that were not catchable for him. I get that. But also, when a ball is thrown your way and you should make a play on it, you need to come down with it, and you also need to make an effort. And when you don't see that effort, I have a major issue with that. So, guys, take it away.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is when I'm seeing Xavier Legette play on the field, it's like he's playing timid. Like he's like a 6'3", super fast wide receiver that's, just built like a player like a DK Metcalf that's not going to be afraid to run through you. But he's running these routes. He's not boxing out corners. He's not blocking. You had Mark Schler calling him out in week 1, saying, why do we have you on the field if you're not blocking, you're not catching the ball, and you're at wide receiver? Like, what's the point of you being on the field? I think I agree with you, Curtis. Tremaine, came in, made some catches, did more than what we've seen from Xavier this year, at least. And Tremaine's an undrafted rookie that, made the 50 or undrafted, I guess his second year, that made the 53 and, has already looked better than Xavier Legette in just a small amount of snaps. So I wonder if it's a situation where they might start XL versus Atlanta, but his snap count starts to go down and they kind of fade him that way into the quote unquote benching. I think that's a possibility, but yeah, David Moore, when he's out there, seems to be more consistent than Xavier Legette. And the most aggravating part for me is that they keep trying to force the ball to Xavier Legette with these end arounds and, these drawn up plays for him. And it's just not working. It hasn't worked for a while, and they still keep trying to do it to get something to pop. And it's just not going to pop. He's playing timid, and then he looks like he just has no feel for the game of football right now, which is frustrating. We all know on the show that I liked Mingo for a while, and I stood by him and was hopeful and that he could turn it around, and he unfortunately didn't, and he got traded. And Xavier Legette is looking an awful lot like Mingo in regards to the feel for the game, and it's just not there right now. And I think a benching could be good for him. I don't know if I see it from him at that position. I really don't. I struggle to see the upside right now. He's got all the physical traits you would ever want at that position with his size and speed, but he looks slow. He doesn't look fast. He's not running good routes. He's not blocking. So what are we doing? Like, why are we benching Bryce Young last season for poor play and not doing it this year, like Ricky's mom, put in that comment? So it's frustrating, and I think fans have a right to be frustrated with that situation.
Before Ricky goes, I just want to say something because I didn't cover this when we were talking about it. I do want to cover my basis on this. I also think there's another add to this of I still don't think the Panthers know how to utilize him correctly. And I don't know if Ricky's going to get into that more, but I feel like they are struggling to find what he did successful at South Carolina, and it's not being implemented here. And I think that adds to another layer of this. But there is no doubt about it. His play just hasn't been up to bar. But I did want to mention that because I think that's important, because I do think there has been an issue there of they need to figure out what this guy does well and try to capitalize on that. And I don't think they've figured that out yet. And I think it might be as simple as going back to what he did well at South Carolina. And I don't know why that's not being implemented here. But Ricky, go ahead.
Well, I think last year they tried to do a little bit more about what he did well at South Carolina, to be completely honest. That's where you see his yards per route run in the deep shots, right? How often he was targeted deep. That's what he did well at South Carolina. He caught the ball deep, and he made big, deep plays. The usage of using him on screens and relying on his lateral agility and instant acceleration and quickness, short area quickness, never been his bag. Just never has, man. You could look back on, I know at least for my prospect evaluation, you can look back on how I spoke about him. I believe I did an article for Cat Crave when I was writing for them about Xavier Legette. He's fast, but he needs room. He needs a runway to get to top speed. anyone that says he was used in that way, and I know that Dave Canales came out after the draft and said, yeah, this guy could be used on screens. He's a quick pass guy. He's very yards after the catch. That's his specialty. It wasn't really on the tape, man. It just wasn't. I think that that's him being excited about the size speed combination and the ideas that he could come up with a guy like that. But he's not that. Now, you talk about the usage and how to best utilize him. Let me ask you guys a question. Outside of the T-Mac play that we just talked about, that went for about 40 yards on that intermediate crosser, right? Outside of that play, how many cross routes, intermediate crossing routes, posts, slants, how many of those did you see successful for this Carolina Panthers defense or even our offense or even deployed for this offense?
There was more success with it Jacksonville week. There was a couple times.
Right?
Yeah, Bryce Young got to – but that's and I think I know where you're kind of going with this, but that's where Legette has thrived is on a cross.
He's got to go.
Yeah. And
Digs and crossers.
And when you get him in space, and like you said with the runway, he's off to the races on a lot of that.
If you're going to run him on horizontal planes, let him get some speed on it. Mm-hmm. If not, you need to run them on the verticals, and you got to dial up the calls. The rest of the concept has to be smart as well, though. Like, that's a big part of all of this that, I think is overlooked a lot of times when we talk about it. And then I'm going to get into Xavier Legette against Arizona because I'm not trying to put a cape on and play Captain Save Legette or anything like that. Don't save him. He don't want to be saved. I get it. Shout out J. Cole. But I do think that there's a little bit that we're missing here, context with that. But these things with Legette, man, it's not just what he's being asked to do. It's where's the rest of the concept going, right? What is the spacing on some of these things that you're asking him to do? What is the sequencing on some of the things that you're asking him to do? If when he is the first read, main target, which we don't even know that, right? Like when we're talking about these plays, we don't even know exactly how it is. You can try to go left to right and assume that that's the way that works, right? Natural progressions, but you don't know what everything is inside of a play. This is what Dave Canales and Brad Idzik put together. They know it. Brad or Bryce Young knows it. The receivers are supposed to know it. Now, Xavier Legette against Arizona, I would tell you guys, man, like there was not a whole lot of catchable targets for Xavier Legette in that football game. You could talk about the effort on the one play before the half, or the non-existent effort, or the non-existent awareness, however you want to phrase it. That's a problem. To not be hurrying back to the line, regardless of how tired you are or anything like that, the rest of your team was. That's an inexcusable thing, and you're supposed to be doing it, right? There was also another rep that, and I don't put all of this stuff on like Twitter because I also don't want all of the negative that comes with all of this stuff, right? Like sometimes, man, our own fans get so against our own players and teams that it seems like they're expecting us to like be happy that someone's not doing well. And that's the exact wrong way to be when it comes to underperforming or disappointing performances, right? Xavier Legette also had a moment of frustration where he throws his hands up, right? And I can't tell where the frustration is, if it's directed at Bryce Young for not seeing something. Or Bryce Young was scrambling, the pressure came, he was scrambling out of the pocket looking for his life. I can't tell if he was mad that Tommy Tremble looked like he had an opening there that you could have thrown it to, and instead he threw it away. Or if he was mad that he didn't get a look. I thought that he was covered well, but maybe he's upset that he's out there running around and not getting targeted with good balls. Bryce Young threw multiple balls that Xavier Legette was open and could have had a play, and he threw it at his feet or he threw it yards in front of him, and it hit the ground. I could think of at least 3 off the top of my head, and he had 8 targets, right? I don't know, man. Like I'm not making excuses for him, but I don't think that Xavier Legette is the scapegoat that everyone wants him to be yet. I think that the first week was actually worse because the first week, he tried to get involved. He caught the things and he just didn't really make anything of it. Bryce threw some bad balls, guys. Like he really did, man. And you can't fault him even on the catch, the Jatavian Sanders one, if we're going to talk about Bryce throws, because I get called a Bryce apologist all the time and a defender just because I try to provide accurate context around the game. That throw to Jatavian Sanders that everyone's like, he should have caught that. Sure, maybe he should have. Bryce also didn't need to throw that at the shoestrings. There was zero reason for that ball to be where it was placement-wise. Zero reason. There was no one in front of him that he needed to slow down his, momentum to stop him from catching it. There was nobody behind him that he was afraid could jump in front of the route. Like literally throw that at the numbers. And he had a window. He wasn't throwing between defenders. He literally had an opening and he just sailed it to the ground a little bit. It happens with Bryce sometimes, man. When his mechanics aren't super duper connected, he could be inaccurate. And you take that because he can also, when he's on the off platform, non-scheduled stuff, he's also miraculous. So it's a double-edged sword. But if you're going to demand that Xavier Legette do more, you have to also demand that Bryce Young do more to help him out. And that Dave Canales, as you two have already pointed out, they got to figure out what to do with Xavier Legette. I have mentioned kick returns multiple times. And each time that I bring it up, I'm told we can't do that. He's wide receiver 2. If you need this guy to get some confidence and see him touch the ball and get used to running with space, give him a few kick returns, man. Let him get the ball and let him run and see what happens. Because a lot of times he also looks like he has an aversion to contact. Make this dude run into somebody. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to see the baby giraffe thing where like his legs are flying all over the place and he's trying to run as fast as he can. I don't want to see it. Like, let him run.
I will say this,
somebody.
Ricky, and you've been trying to sell this on this show forever. So if it does happen, I'm going to give you the kudos for it. But more and more, I'm starting to think you might be right, and it might be time to at least you got to try something different. Like something's got to
get something out of it, right?
But I will say this, I don't know, and this could be a conversation too. I do really like ETN as a returner, and I think he's been solid. Like I don't know if anyone can argue against he's been bad. Like he's made guys miss on both sides of returns. So I do want to give him some credit there. But I think I'm at the point now. It's like you got to throw shit at a wall and hope something sticks, and that is one of those. Like let's see what he does, and maybe him being out in the return game and he takes one for 40 yards. It gets him going and rolling and he's ready to roll on that first snap on offense. And here we go type thing. I don't know, but like I'm starting to come around the corner on what you're saying on that. Cause it's like nothing's working right now. You got to try something different.
Yeah. Well, and just one last thing, cause I think Bryson talked about it too, or I can't remember exactly which one of you touched on it, but you said something about like the force feeding or like the creating opportunities and making him get involved or whatever. There's also a difference, if for me at least, between manufacturing touches and getting your player in advantageous situations and opportunities to do something with the ball and forcing passes to somebody just for the sake of them being involved, right? The onus on the first part of what I said is on the coaches. You have to come up with concepts that work and sequencing on those plays that are well-timed, and you have to have all the pieces working cohesively. Like, and that's just what has to happen. I hope that they get it done. You see Black and Blue here's comment pointing out that Hunter Renfrow echoed, or I'm echoing, I guess, a lot of what Hunter Renfrow said. I'm not going to say that Hunter Renfrow is echoing me here. He's already said it. Hunter Renfrow said that Legette got a number of uncatchable balls, and Canales said he needs to scheme better for him to be in better position. I agree wholeheartedly, man. And like it is just something that has to happen. Panther Bo, I apologize. You thought that I was a Bryce apologist. Don't worry. I still have that inside me, and I will still defend 9 until the day we can't anymore.
Bryson, any follow-up to that from what he said?
Yeah, I mean, I want Legette to be good. I really do. But I just think I'm consistently seeing like on routes like towards the sideline where he's not fighting back towards the ball. He's letting 5-10 corners bully him and get through his body, like the interception in week 1, or there was a play this past weekend where the ball got to him, but the corner covered him, and because he was like kind of fading up towards up the field instead of coming back towards the ball, he has to play with more aggression at the catch point. He's got the strength, obviously. He's got the tools, but it's just not clicking in his mind at this point to do that, to fight and hands catch and not let the ball get into your body. You can stick your arms out and catch a ball to box out a corner that's 5 inches shorter than you are, 3 inches, however much shorter you are, and 30 pounds lighter. Like, you have that ability to do that. You just need to do it. And I think I've seen that consistently from him, just not having that like wherewithal to put that all together. I think he can, and I hope he does. But right now he's just not doing that on a consistent basis, within his routes.
And real quick, Curtis, if I could finish up here, at least on my view on this,
Mhm.
because Bryson, you talk about his strength, right, at the catch point and just physical strength too. One of his best football traits and abilities is his strength at the top of his route. And that's why those crossers and digs that get him going away from the defenders, that's why those are so built for him and aimed at success for him, because the separation he creates there is much clearer and better and more beneficial than the separation he creates in the stem of his routes or on the release. That's not where he creates separation. He's not this shifty, quick guy. He's not the Tank Dell, right? He's not Justin Jefferson. Like, these guys create separation instantly. That's not necessarily X. Now, one of the throws that we didn't talk about was, and I'm not sure if this is the one, Bryce, the one in the end zone that Bryce threw up as a 50-50 where Will Johnson was on him in coverage.
That's not the one I was talking about.
Okay, right. Yeah. You were talking about the one when the guy came through his back.
Yeah.
Because he sat there. He didn't have his hands out, wasn't using diamond. He let it come into him. Agreed completely. But the one in the end zone, if you watch that again on his release, Xavier gets a step behind Will Johnson. And instead of Bryce putting that towards the back corner, towards the pylon, he almost makes Xavier Legette play back into the defender for a jump ball. When I initially watched that, I thought that Xavier Legette might have mistimed the jump because of the way the play looked. I was like, what happened there? Like, it just looked odd. It looked like he stopped his momentum and ended up in the air at a weird time. But I think it's because he literally had to stop from being in front of the defender or being behind the defender and come back to the ball. I think that's a miss on Bryce Young again. I truly just do. And so when we want to criticize Xavier Legette, that's fine, man. I got no problem with it. I'm not going to sit here and get mad about people being disappointed with Xavier Legette. I'm disappointed, dude. I thought he was going to take a step. I need him to take a step. The Panthers need him to take a step. But I think there is a little bit more to it than him just like sucking completely, right? Maybe I'm also just looking for the silver linings. Maybe I'm just a Panthers apologist. It might not even be Bryce Young anymore.
Let's talk about the series before half, and then we'll kind of go to the back end of the game here, and then we'll talk about the defense. I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but I think it deserves a breakdown. So Panthers get the ball with a minute and some change left, maybe it was. I can't remember, but Ricky talked about the Jatavion Sanders play where, guys, I don't know what angle they saw. Ricky, I know you have the all 22, so you can see a little bit more, but I don't know if that helps you because I don't know if you can really get close to the actual play and where you can see from the end zones. I don't know what angle they were looking at to overturn that play because the one they were showing on TV did not show whatever they called on the field. So I honestly thought that was a bullshit call. Because if you're going to call it a catch on the field, I had a hard time seeing the evidence because the angle they showed, Sanders' bodies covers up what the hell was going on the ground. So I don't know how they came to that conclusion on that play. And I can't stand refs the way that is. Bryson knows that for listening to me at games, bitching about them all the damn time. So that one I had a hard time, but with the management of that drive just from the start and then how Arizona gets the ball back, marches down the field and puts up a touchdown. I mean, this game, Carolina wins that game if they don't have 7. And whether you want to point it on the fumble by Bryce Young in the first couple snaps or the one right before half that they gave up, those were the two crucial plays that I felt really determined this football game in the end. So I just want to ask you guys about how Dave Canales managed that at the end of half, and do you think that ultimately led to their demise in this game? And I don't know, whoever wants to start on that, if someone wants to jump.
Go ahead, Bryson.
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating for sure. I agree with you, Curtis. I did not see anything in that replay that would have overturned a catch on the field. Completely blew my mind. But for some reason, when they cut the commercial break, I was like, we're going to come back, and this is not going to be a catch. Like, I'm just confident with the way this game has gone. It's just not going to be a catch. I was watching a college football game. Forgot what network it was on. Maybe the CW or something. but you could hear like them talking to the command center on like a review, like a replay, or a challenge, and it was the ref and the command center, and they were talking about like how they were looking at the play and what they were going to call. That was awesome, and I would love to have heard that between the wherever they called into in the refs in this game for this play in particular, because I didn't see anything that I was confident it was a catch, but I was also just knowing the Panthers, it wasn't going to be a catch. Like what we've been through in our history with Patry.
But that's not it shouldn't be like that, man. Like, and I get it. I'm just bitching, but like, just because you're shitty doesn't mean you get fucked on calls. Like that should not be the precedent in the league. Like, I don't care. Like, it should not be that way.
And that's right, Nato. It was an ACC game, and I thought that was so cool. I thought that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, the mismanagement, Nick Scott not being there to help his corner, completely lost in coverage. I do not know what the fuck we are doing with Nick Scott, dude. What does he bring that Lathan Ransom does not? You know, we're gonna get into the defense, but that was on Scott. That touchdown. You know, he should have been there. Like I'm watching Tony Jefferson, who's 40 years old, for the Chargers make plays. He was on their practice squad, and they called him up for that game, and he's making plays. He's there in coverage. He got an interception, and then we got Nick Scott, who is just complete poo-poo on the field. Like he's not doing
communication. Come on, dude.
He's not communicating great through 2 weeks. I'll tell you that much.
Y'all think he just yells at people when they're about to catch it in front of him?
Hey, drop the ball!
Hey, bear! Hey, bear!
So I'm just lost, man. It is what it is. It happened, but yeah, maybe if they didn't give up that touchdown, give up a field goal, or you could say if they got those two-point conversions and they only needed a field goal and with that onside recovery, then, we might be talking about a different ending to this game. The play calls in those 2-point conversions were fucking atrocious. So that's something we didn't even touch on, but yeah, they were terrible.
Well, no, and that's kind of what I was getting at here is the management of Dave Canales. Do you think, again, he mismanaged this game? No, and Bryson talked about the 2-point conversions right before half. And that was a big thing going into half that I think I heard on the spaces. I think that Sheena and them were hosting is it seemed like there was no urgency before half.
Yeah.
And then Bryson talked about the Nick Scott debacle that gave up the touchdown right before that. But I felt like that was the most crucial moment in that game. And I knew once Arizona got the ball back, I'm like, they're scoring. There is no doubt they are scoring here. Whether it's a field goal or not, they are scoring. So anyway, Ricky, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's talk real quick about the 2-point conversion thing, right? And you see Bo here talk about they made up for it, calling every egregious Cardinal call. Officiating sucks. It does. Now, real quick on the catch, here's what I'll say about it, and I think you both kind of alluded to it, even said it, just in different wording. The verbiage and the terminology is always a thing with these replays that I get hung up on, right? And when they say either it's been confirmed or not enough disputable evidence to overturn, that call on the field was a catch. I have a hard time understanding how they had indisputable evidence to overturn it. I think that no matter how you look at it, there was an argument that the ground may have touched the ball, but it did not change the trajectory or help him complete that catch. So I just think that that's a really tough sell for me to buy into the officiating of this league. If they're going to tell me they had 100% surety that play right there should have been the other way. But then last year when Adam Thielen made an obvious catch in the end zone, they said, we don't have the cameras to call that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's my thing, Ricky, is if they overturned it, then show the angle that you determined to overturn it.
Like Bryson
said, the angle you showed did not show the fucking ball on the ground.
The NFL is dumb as shit for a couple reasons. I'm going to give you two, though, that's really grinds my gear here. And Bryson, you talked about it right here. I got balloons going everywhere, and I got no idea why. It's probably because I'm
Happy birthday.
Moving my hand. And you know what? Actually, it is my wife's birthday tomorrow, so maybe that's what's going on here.
Okay.
Maybe StreamYard is trying to remind me so that I don't get fucking killed.
Tell her a happy birthday from us.
No doubt. Two things, though. Bryson, you were just talking about it. They got command centers for some of these things, and most of it is for college ball. But if you have the ability to do some of these things and this perspective that you could provide fans and a little bit more like inside look at the process of some of these things, Do it all the time. Stop trying to make that a thing just for when Nebraska plays Iowa at 12 p.m. on FS1. Nobody's fucking watching, first of all. Nobody cares. And I want to see it on every single NFL game. Second of all, Amazon Prime, the Prime View that they do on Thursday night with the name identification, with the route tracking, with the movement, with the hot defensive players that are the probability of coming on pressure. Do all of that every Sunday. Offer that for every single game. You can offer 2 broadcasts, but that's an all 22 view of the game, watching the game. That gives you so much more context as a fan to be able to sit there and watch it and say, oh, this is why he didn't go to that guy. We're all sitting there screaming, why didn't he go to Tedero McMillan? Maybe if we had the all 22, you'd be able to see him over there sucking wind, trying to run verticals, right? No, Bo, I'm not coming after the Big Ten. I'm coming after Matt Rule in Nebraska. Those are 2 different things, my friend, and you know that better than anybody. But yeah, that's just my grind my gears segment there for a second, though, because I think that's crazy that they had this technology and that they can implement it for all these other things, and yet we only get it when the Miami Dolphins play Buffalo Bills tomorrow in Buffalo, which will be a good game for about 7.5 minutes until Josh Allen puts up 40. So so give us that on the rest of the Sunday slate. You know what I mean? I think we'd all enjoy that. Shout out to Purdue for Panther Bo. Purdue is also where Nick Scorton began his college career, so we love that. As for the management by Dave Canales, y'all already know where I stand with this, man. I've got a significant issue with the way that Dave Canales calls football games, with the way that he prepares his team for football games, seemingly. I don't know. But this emphasis that they have put on practice and all this stuff and then yielding absolutely no results. Could y'all imagine, this is what I think of it, right? Is you don't value game reps. So let's act like we're going to go get our driver's license, right? And the way that we start practicing, we drive a car. It's not like we're sitting here on a simulator. We drive a car, but we do it in the country. Out where there's nobody else and we're driving on dirt roads, right? You can figure out how to change the gear shift. You can figure out how to hit the brake and the gas. But then when you go to actually take your physical driving exam, they say, all right, meet me in downtown Manhattan, and we're going to throw you in an 18-wheeler, and we're going to have you drive around, parallel park, do all this other kind of stuff. You're going to look around and be like, the fuck are all these cars doing out here? What is that? There's people walking out here. You want me to drive around? There are surroundings that are different. I'm not used to this. I know how to practice drive. I don't know how to drive. This isn't fair. Eventually, guess what? After 5 or 6 times driving around Manhattan and running over pedestrians and shit, you're eventually going to figure out not to do that. And you will be able to drive a car in the city. But you don't right off the bat. Take the reps where you can get them, learn how to do things, because the way that Canales comes out, it's almost like he's saying, look, we know that we can attack Nick Scott here in this situation. It's like, no, you can't attack Nick Scott, Dave. They're attacking Nick Scott. You attack him in practice. We don't get to do that on Sundays. You can't do that. So, I just think that this is one of those situations, man, where, he is still a young coach. He is still learning some of this as well. But it is frustrating when he had opportunities that he did not seize, so that some of the learning and some of the adjustment time for him and for his team didn't come at the expense of meaningful football games. And you can say, well, these are just the beginning games and this team's not going for the playoffs. Maybe not at this point, but you know what? If we had started 2-0 and you're staring at some of the division, right? And Tampa looks great, but you're staring at some of the other division that still has question marks. We'll get into Atlanta. I know everyone's real high on Atlanta and their defense. We'll get into that, though. These teams are beatable teams still. And this Carolina team is still showing signs of improvement and life and young talent on this roster. I want to see them hit the ground running, man. And what Dave Canales does sometimes, it seems like he limits that. And I don't know, last year, remember, we always used to talk about it. I liked his scripted plays. That was where I was actually a fan of him. I thought when you gave him time to prep, I thought his scripted plays worked pretty well. Yeah. But the minute that you sat there and were like, all right, Dave, we're out of the first 15. What you want to do? And he was like, can we start those over? Can we just do those again? and look, you do want to end up being able to work back to plays that are successful. That is something.
Well, and I think where you're seeing success later is from Bryce Young. I don't even think that's Dave.
Absolutely.
And you talked about that this past week.
That's right. And we saw it at the end of last year. Some of the things that worked well for this team were off script and calls that Bryce Young had to make to get this team in better position. Now, they have already said that's one of his superpowers, right? Is being able to read defenses and adjust. But we need to come out and play a better brand of football early on. And that's the bottom line of it. Dave Canales is learning. I'm going to give him some grace. I'm going to give everybody some grace until 4 p.m. on Sunday, and then we'll, air it out.
All right, let's talk real quick because I know we've literally talked like an hour on the offense, but I want to touch on this because it's pivotal.
Long, huh?
It's pivotal in this game. Bryson, what went wrong in the final drive? So we get the onside kick, which special teams Sam Martin, and honestly, the Cardinals deserve credit on touching that ball. But they don't happen. Onside kicks don't happen anymore. So for them to get that was a miracle in itself. But what went wrong once Bryce Young and company got the ball back? And it was a penalty, then a hit and a fumble, then a penalty. And it was just bouncing back and forth. What went wrong in that final drive that ultimately ended this historic comeback for the Carolina Panthers?
I think it's really simple. It's the play calling that was trying to get it all in one play instead of taking what the defense gave you, the time that was on the clock at 2 minutes almost. They could have run the ball. They could have taken what got them back into the game, which was what the defense was giving them. They could have done that, and they didn't. It was the play calling, in my opinion, that ultimately got the Carolina Panthers nothing on that drive. So I think they were saved by some penalties. They had multiple chances, and it was the same thing over and over. It was let's get the home run play, let's get it all in one big chunk, and let's win this game, and not let's think through this. Let's get what the defense is giving us. It's okay if we get 5-7 yards on a play. Instead, they were trying to go 40 for a touchdown, and I think that's what it was.
Agreed. I that's lack of awareness too, though, for the coach, right? You have to be able to look out on that field and see the way your players are physically responding right now. They're gassed, man. I mean, everybody was tired. People would say, they look slow out there, like they're not separated. Yeah, no kidding. They're beat, man. And like the defense is playing off of them, so they're able to sit back and wait and let them run straight into them because they know that you're not calling anything underneath. If you adjust to make a couple of quick adjustments, that's why I talked about running the football in that situation. I understand, man, you got a minute 58. You're a little bit worried about, you got to get in the end zone, right? You can't kick a field goal.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
58 on the better half.
And look, we can talk about, right, dude, exactly. It's half field. Like, we're not coming down from the 15, right? Like, you're at half field. You got 50 yards to salvation. You can get that. But the other part of this is the defense is going to be tired too because they were just out on the field. You know what I like to do when a defense is tired? And hypothetically speaking, if I was some sort of a actual coach and not just flag football for 6-year-olds, I like to run it down their throat until they can stop it. Like, you got a minute 58. You could give me at least Chuba 3 different times, right? At least 3 different times. Get a couple first downs, reset, and make the defense account for that element of your offense. Because they didn't have to. They didn't have
Ricky,
to look at it at all. Yeah.
You said something, and it made me think of something. It's not like we were starting our drive from the 15-yard line. I think if we would have started our drive from the 15-yard line, that drive would have went much better than the situation that we were in there where we recovered the onside kick. I think it would have been
felt like he had to gain more ground. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And that's sad to think.
It's crazy, right?
But I do think the play calling would have been much different, and it would have been more successful.
And Arizona did make the adjustment there that they went back to cover 4 on that very last drive. They went back to their cover 4 that had given some fits before. We talk again about was it garbage time? Did Arizona let up? They were still playing games on the defensive front. They were still causing confusion and trying to make pressure at Bryce all game. It didn't stop. But when that coverage changed again and they backed off and there wasn't those soft zones in the middle, you had to account for defenders being where they weren't the rest of that second half, right? And I think that with the calls that he was making and then the adjustment on the defense, it played directly into the Arizona Cardinals' hands. And unfortunately, we got outcoached at the most pivotal moment of the football game. And that's what it comes down to. And it happens. This isn't something to say like we're never going to win a football game again because we got outcoached. Look, they made a roaring comeback, man. I was very happy to see that. Dave Canales said he was proud of the way they finished in Jacksonville. I wasn't. give a shit about the way they finished that football game. I'm gonna tell you what, though, I was proud as hell of the way they finished in this football game, because in this football game, this team still believed that they had a chance to win this football game, and they played like it. Where a lot of fans sat here and said, they're not going to win this game. They can't do this. They can't do that. This is all just fake. This is Bryce Young is great when nothing counts. It counted, dude. It counted. They had 2 minutes to go and win the damn game. Anytime you have that, everything else that led up to it counted and mattered. I am sick and tired of that narrative, man. So yeah, that's where I stand with it. That drive sucked. I thought the play calling did suck, and I thought that it had some awareness issues, but I do think that this team saw what worked again. And sometimes that's what you need, man. Bryce needed it last year, watching something happen, watching the offensive line protect. He didn't even see good quarterback play. He just saw the offensive line protect him so that Andy Dalton could throw fucking cheeseburgers around the field. But he at least saw the offensive line, and that gave him faith that he could stand behind them and, throw filet mignon around the field. So we just need that to rear its head early in the football game on Sunday.
What drove me nuts about that final drive is Canales got away from what worked in the second half when it would have worked in that final drive. Like, what are we doing here? That was my biggest gripe with it. I'm not going to spend too much more time. You guys hammered that one home. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball, because for so long we have harped on this defense and this game. No matter how you want to slice it, they played well. There is no doubt about that. And we want to rip the staff, we want to rip the players on that side of the ball, and they deserved it. Like, they deserved it. They were the worst defense in the league ever in history. But they bounced back from a poor performance in Jacksonville, gave up 200 yards rushing. I think they held them to like 70 this past game. That has not happened. I think it was before this Arizona game, Carolina has given up 200 yards rushing in 7 consecutive games dating back to last year. That is an insane stat. And Carolina, and we all knew it. Like, I think one of us, I can't remember who, one of our bets was 70 plus for James Conner. I would have done that every day of the week. Every day of the week. I don't knock that bet at all. But Carolina came out and they showed up. And honestly, for the most part, I mean, there was guy in Bryson talked about and Nick Scott, but this defense held up their end of the bargain in this game. And it don't matter. And I know we're going to talk about Princely, because he deserves to be talked about too in that sack. But let's start with this defense and how well they did against the run. Bryson, thoughts on that and that front seven and how well they played against, I would say for James Conner is not an easy back to bring down.
Yeah, and Trey Benson as well. Trey Benson's an exciting back that they have. So they have a 1-2 punch there, and then you have Kyler Murray who can run the ball too. So I think where I give the most credit for the performance this past Sunday. First, I start with Derek Brown, who was fantastic, just bullying dudes Phenomenal. Out there. And then A'Shawn Robinson, I thought, had a really good game too.
Nice game.
So I think those two dudes set the tone on that defensive line, and Bobby Brown comes in and makes some plays. So you got that rotation there on the inside of that defensive line. And then I thought Patrick Jones and DJ Wanham did a much better job setting the edge in this game than they did the previous game. Were they perfect? No. But they did it. And there was one play in particular, watching DJ Wanham when Kyler Murray was trying to take the ball out of the pocket. He was there, and he was there, pretty good. He was, Kyler Murray was trying to give him a little 1-2, and DJ Wanham wasn't going for
a little shimmy you did there.
You see that on Sunday, in the red zone. But I thought they did a much better job setting the edge. I thought the interior was there. I thought Derek Brown set the tone for the whole entire group. That man is just a beast. He is so good. I don't envy any offensive lineman that has to block him, whether it's a double or a one-on-one situation. I would not want to be part of the task of blocking Derek Brown. So I thought they did a great job. I do think there was some meat left on the bone there from that defense. You talk about the linebackers. God, this group fucking sucks. It was a little bit better than week one, but Roseboom, the play, was it Kyler Murray that juked him and he just like went sliding? Like that, I just can't do anything but laugh at that. Like it was so bad. And then you get to the secondary, you talk about Nick Scott. I really don't even want to talk about him. It's just bad. But of course, another game of our corners looking really good. Mike Jack and exactly what Black and Blue's talking about. And JC really setting the tone out there on the edge of the defense. Guarding the 1 and 2 wide receiver of the opposing team. I thought they did a great job. JC Horn is playing at like an elite level. There was a graph that came out today or maybe yesterday that I saw on Twitter. He's in the top right corner. Like no one's touching him. He's just playing amazing ball right now with every single penny the Panthers spent on him. So, hopefully this continues an upward trajectory for this defense. The linebackers are still going to be an issue. Nick Scott's still going to be an issue, but maybe the guys around them can kind of pull it together to put a performance together like we saw on Sunday from this team.
Go to this super chat real quick, fellas, from our guy Panther Bo.
Yeah, man.
This is a nice rule of thumb for Sunday. If you're going to be at the bank on Sunday, here it is. Just be a louder fan base than want to be Atlanta fans. Cheers to that, man.
Yeah,
and do it on social media before the game too. Everyone pick a fight before Sunday.
Don't be a weak ass city and a fair weather fan. Cheers.
Right? Yeah.
Michael Penis is throwing us 3 picks.
That's right. You're what now? I still can't wait to do the Steve Smith segment. So everyone hang tight, man. Everyone hang tight because that is still going to be the fun part of the evening. What were we talking about here? Defense. Cheers, Bo, by the way. I think that this was Ejiro Evero, one of his better called games. And so when I go back and I look at some of the different fronts and pressures and things that he did, I know we still ran cover 3 a lot. And people get that kind of twisted and take that as we ran the same formation and we ran the same looks all the time, right? That's not what that means. There's post-snap stuff that gets into cover 3. And Evero did that a couple times too. That was really cool, man. Like he did some really cool stuff this time. But what I want to touch on really fast, he had a couple things. You talked about Derek Brown and A'Shawn Robinson. There were reps in this game where they were the single defensive linemen in the game. I don't know if that classifies completely as a NASCAR package that, because typically that's all ends and linebackers that are lined up on that front. Derek Brown was the only one from the defensive line, and using him in a NASCAR package, that's wild, man. That shows you how incredibly gifted and good of a football player that he is to be utilized in that way. And then A'Shawn Robinson was another one that was used in it. Now, I got to go back and watch the first game again and chart that and see if we've done that before. That was the first time that I've caught it. I don't know if they did that in week 1. But Evero didn't have the personnel at his hands, at his fingertips to do these kinds of things the year before. Somebody said it, the Derek Brown effect. Who was it that said that in here? Dick Nasty, our guy. Dick Nasty says the Derek Brown effect. You're damn right it is, man. When you have a stud on the defensive front, it is going to make everyone's life a little bit easier. You bring up Bobby Brown, Bryson. The play that you're talking about was a quarterback option, and it was Bobby Brown and DJ Wanham that literally sat Kyler Murray down like he was in timeout. He literally just sat right on his butt cheeks when he turned around and saw Bobby Brown standing in front of him. And you know what? If you got a 6'4", 335-pound dude who is already dominated the offensive guard lined up in front of him, and DJ Wanham is like DJ Wanham was basically the horse that the Cowboys riding on, and he's just a little cow trying to get through it and trying to find his own way, and he's matching him back and forth. He's the best cowboy in town. He's just sitting there staring you down. He's like, you ain't going nowhere, little calf. Sit down, right? They roped him. He got the horns. DJ got the horns. Bobby Brown got the legs. They tied that shit up, and they dropped him right on his ass. Hell of a play. That's stuff that we didn't see because you know what? We didn't see wins from the defensive front a lot. We did not see instant wins, especially from the nose tackle. Shout out Bobby Brown because when they played him at zero or shade technique at the nose, that man was holding his part in the line and also pushing the line of scrimmage backwards. That is such a welcome sight to see. And his flexibility to be able to fill in for Derek Brown when Derek needs a breather, dude, our personnel works, man. And we're doing all this without Turk Wharton, who would also be providing an interior pass rush and who looked great against the rush in week 1. Like, we have to keep some of these things in mind. I'm glad Black and Blue brought up Mike Jack and JC Horn. Mike Jack deserves a massive pat on the back for his first 2 weeks. I thought he has been outstanding. And I know JC Horn is great too, but I expect that from JC Horn. JC Horn is an elite football player in my mind. I am glad that we saw him up in that top right corner, the way that you normally see the Josh Allens and Joe Burrows on a quarterback chart, right? And JC Horn is just up there with everyone looking down, looking up at him, just like, damn, dog, you're good as hell at this. That is where I want to see more Panthers players, because that is where we have to be if we want to turn this ship around. Our second level of defense, this linebacker group, is going to be a problem for a while. Unless all of a sudden Trevin flips a switch and he develops into something else, I'm going to wear some egg on my face with my Rose Boom thing here, because I thought the Rose Boom was going to be Steady Eddie out there. And I ain't talking about Eddie Pinheiro. He might even be just as bad as Eddie Pinheiro. I ain't really trying to get into that right now because I don't want to have to admit that.
We're not getting into that.
Yeah, I don't want to have to get into that. But when I say Steady Eddie, I thought he was at least going to be able to, keep things in front of him. He's not a dynamic athlete, but he's pretty smart. He can process. I mean, dude, he's missing on a lot of tackles. He's just not doing a great job. That one where he had free reign at Kyler Murray, great call by Evero, dialed it up perfectly. Yeah. Roseboom timed the blitz well. He came across the line of scrimmage well, and then he was just sort of like, oh, no, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to touch him. And it was just not good, man. Like, I need more aggressive nature. I need more hate out of the defense. I need less Nick Scott. I need more Lathan Ransom. Hell, Damani Richardson, you can throw him back there too if you need to. Trayvon Merrick, I do think he's going to have to step up, man. You're the big money guy. I think that he had some really nice plays in run support, and that is where he is his best. We talked about that, and, I remember that Dave Canales and Evero, if you guys will entertain me for a second, I remember they talked about in the offseason, they're like, nah, Trevin could do both. Like, we're comfortable with him playing free safety, and I think the three of us had this conversation of, like, can he do it? And I was like, technically, right? Like, technically he could do it, but, like, that's not where he's best suited. Can they do it on, like, rotations, post-snap rotations, if they ask him to cover that every now and then? He can. He has the ability, but you're not paying him $17 million a year, $20 million a year, whatever it is, whatever his contract is. You're not paying that to him to defend tight ends one-on-one. You're not paying him to defend slot receivers one-on-one. You are paying him to cause havoc and to blitz and to become essentially an additional linebacker. I think if you lined him up right now just as an off-ball backer, he might be your best linebacker on the roster. And that's what they're going to have to do. They did run a couple of 3 safety looks. I did notice that. They had Ransom, Nick Scott, and Trayvon Merrick out there together. I would like to see more of that. But put Lathan Ransom. They had Ransom inside the box in those looks. Put Ransom back there. And now, look, I know Ransom is great playing closer to the line of scrimmage and brings the boom, but that's what Trevin is getting paid for. Let him do what you paid him to do, man. You don't buy a Lamborghini to go four-wheeling. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Do the things that you want out of that Lamborghini. You're going to go find a European auto highway or whatever where the speed limit is 105. That's what you buy a Lamborghini for, not to drive through the Alps, for crying out loud. Put them in positions to wreck and cause havoc. But I do think that this defense, man, showing signs of life, boys, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I want to touch on a couple of things. I'll start with Mary because you were kind of ending on that. I need that dude to step up a little bit. And I get it, and I know, Ricky, you touched on a little bit, but he's a top 6 paid safety in the league. Top 6. You're making a lot of cash, a lot of green. And I talked about this. I still think this worried me at this jump with this linebacker room, that I still think sometimes he's playing out of position. You kind of just alluded to it there, where he's a great run defender. He's a great blitzer. They need to utilize that more, but I feel like he's out of position because this linebacker room sucks and they're trying to overcompensate for it. But when you're making that kind of cash, top 6 in the league, you need to play like one. So I do think he needs to step up a little bit. That's just my early observations. Mike Jackson, I clearly didn't understand your game. He has had a hell of a start to the year, and I've been hard on his ass. I wasn't buying into the Mike Jackson stuff.
I was right there with you.
He has played outstanding these 2 weeks, and he's been challenged, or he's been tested a couple times. He's come through for the most part. So I want to give him kudos because he has played well. I mean, outside of Trey McBride this last game, Carolina shut down those wide receivers. I think Marvin Harrison, the darling of last year for Arizona, had 2 catches, and they limited all the other wide receivers to 1. Like, that secondary played really well, and I know that might have, the way the game was rolling, it might have presented itself that way, but they still shut those guys down. Michael Wilson, and their other wide receivers, the name is escaping me, but they shut those guys down in that game, and JC plays a lot of part in that too. But Mike Jackson has been a bright spot, and he deserves credit. And then I want to talk about a little bit here. You guys touched on Trevin. That guy he's so in over his head, man. This guy, I honestly can't believe he started last year. Like, looking back at it now, I'm like, holy shit. I mean, that's how bad it was last year, that this guy, he looks out of place. He's thinking too much, just not playing freely, it seems. And his mind's just swirling. That's what I get out of it. And then we got to talk about Princely here for a second, because I know he had just that 1 sack, but that was a hell of a play, and it was a big moment for Carolina because they weren't getting a lot of pressure in that first game. They got a couple more this last game. So I wanted to touch on him, and I think we had talked about earlier in the year, and I can't remember who had said it, that they thought, maybe he might have some better numbers statistically when we were talking about him and Scorton early on. And I still think Scorton needs more opportunities, and how they mix in some of those packages. He's always coming in. And I think Ricky had said it, you'd like to see him with Wanham, and it's always him and Pat Jones right now. So it would be nice to see that kind of transition there with Evero and kind of mix it up a little bit. Sorry, I'm going on a little rant here, just through all the things I'm thinking of as I'm talking about the defense. We need to stop seeing Pat Jones in coverage. I know that came up a couple times in this game. I'm tired of that. I know we did it with Brian Burns too, and like Evero loves to do that every now and then. Let's throw that out of the playbook. I don't like that. I don't get it.
And preface that by saying Pat Jones had a hell of a game.
I thought he did, but like, I don't like him in coverage.
No, I'm with that. I said the same exact thing, man. I was like, how many more times do I got to see Pat Jones being dropped back in coverage, especially when he was having the game that he was having, right? Like, he was creating some pressure. He was fantastic against the run. He was involved in that NASCAR package I was talking about, and that's actually when Nick Scorton came flying through and got a pressure himself on that. Yep. There are ways to deploy these guys. You're exactly right. I just wanted to preface that because it sounded like for a second all three of us were about to laugh and shake our head and be like, yeah, no more of that. That's not a condemnation on how Pat played, though, because Pat played a hell of a ball game, but his coverage was
one other thing I want to mention, and I don't know if you guys picked up on this. This was just me. I thought, and I know they didn't get home on this, but I thought the blitzing packages were better in a sense that there were guys coming flying in, and they might have been a tick early, but I felt like there was at least a threat of it. Usually when they blitzed before, the guy was getting smothered at the line and there was no impact. When those guys, I mean, if you take back some of those blitzes early on, I don't know if it was Merrig who got the offsides on that first blitz. Yep, there was a couple blitzes. They were literally just a tick off.
Yep.
And those fuckers would have been come flying in if they weren't offside. Like there would have been impact. And I haven't not felt that in these blitz packages from Evero in a long time, where I thought there was at least some sort of pressure. The Rose Boom thing. He needs to make that play. Like, that's not on Evero. That was a good dialed up blitz. He fucked up. That's on the player. But I felt this game, the blitz packages seemed a little bit better, or the players were executing them better, that it was at least some sort of threat. Now, they didn't get home yet. We're not to that point yet, but I thought the threat at least was a little bit more improved than in games past. So that was kind of all my notes.
Yep. Like that.
Let's go to let's talk Steve Smith, and then we'll get to the game. Do we want to do that? Do we want to go to
Let's
Steve
do that
Smith?
and then pivot to the game. Yeah, I think we've given the other game enough time now at this point.
So let's go to Steve Smith. If you guys have not heard, Steve Smith was on Kyle Bailey. I think it was yesterday, WFNZ, and I don't know the context he was talking. I've heard bits and pieces of the interview. I didn't listen to the whole thing. But he called Charlotte.
I could read the quote if you want me to.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
I don't want to misquote him.
All right, so let's quote from this. He said this was about the Smith was asked about the widespread criticism second-year wide receiver Xavier Legette has received. This is from Vashti Hurt's Carolina Blitz website, by the way. She just posted an article because Smith has responded to whatever hate he's getting. I guess people are DMing him and threatening him, which is stupid. But it received after a slow start to the season. He didn't hesitate to say exactly how he felt. Here's Steve Smith's quote. "Here's where the football player in me is going to come out," Smith began. "That's what this city does well, is bitch and complain. When we went to the Super Bowl in 2003, I never forgot how many people treated us my rookie year when we were 1-15. I know some people will not like hearing this, but if you're going to ride and die with your team, ride or die. That's probably the problem with this weak-ass city is the fair weather fans." End quote. That's the problem with this city is these weak-ass fans. Now, real quick, just to give a little bit more context. Wednesday, he clapped back, if you will, at all of this. It said, "Based on the DMs I've been getting from people, what I said and now you say, you're going to threaten me and pull up on me. I don't think that's a good idea. I love this city. I invest in this city. My foundation is in this city, but all these comments in my DMs talking about you're going to pull up on me, you're going to threaten me. We don't need all that." Okay, let's start here. Don't need threats. You don't need to say that you're going to pull up on Steve Smith. You don't need to say you're going to do anything because let's be honest, first and foremost, you're not, right? So like, don't be a fool. Don't say shit that you're not going to do. But second, let's get into this. Steve Smith loves this city so much, he called it a weak-ass city. He loves this city so much, he invests in his charity or whatever, and his foundation is here. Is it the only place that you got anything going on? I mean, you've definitely stuck things in other cities, you know, not just in Charlotte. You say you love this city and you have a loyalty or whatever to the franchise. You love this franchise. Isn't it interesting, though, that when the franchise was considering going against things that you didn't like, let's start with Jerry Jeudy, right? He was all about Jonathan Mingo. He was all about Xavier Legette. Hell, he was flipping New York strips of ribeyes with Jonathan Mingo in training camp. Remember, didn't they have like the grilling with Steve or some shit like that, where they were sitting there having a great time? He said, this guy's going to turn into a perennial all-pro player, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, right? Took him under his wing. Jerry Jeudy, though, he's like, man, he's just a guy. That would be a mistake. Jerry Jeudy was what, the 6th leading receiver in yards last year or something like that for the Cleveland Browns. Likely not just a guy there. Now, I'm not saying that he's like a home run threat or he's the greatest receiver in the NFL, but for this receiving corps that we're talking about right now, tell me Jerry Jeudy doesn't have a meaningful place here. But Steve Smith has the ear of this franchise, whether that's David Tepper, whether it's Dan Morgan. I don't know, but somebody values his opinion. Somebody does it. He gives them advice and they listen for the most part. Now, this draft period, Tedero McMillan, he hates it for some reason. Doesn't like him. Maybe it's because he's like the antithesis of Steve Smith, where he doesn't have to rely on scrappy determination and beating the odds because he's a very talented, physically gifted, large-bodied, ultra-productive college receiver who profiles directly to being a threat to any long-standing records for a team if he hits his ceiling, because he's not a project. And he won't lose 3 or 4 years of his career developing under God knows how many regimes for the Carolina Panthers. We go through them like fucking underwear, right? Like, you don't know what that turns into. But with Tedero McMillan, I think you do know. And Steve is, you know, he's been a little bit less bullish with Tedero. As Bo said here, he gave credit and praise T-Mac on Monday, by the way. Sure, he's not going to have much choice but to. Because if you're going to try to pick apart Tetairoa McMillan when he's doing what he's doing on the field, it's going to become painfully obvious what your standing is. But here's my thing with Steve Smith, man. And here's my thing with any kind of, and I'll end it with this, okay? Here's my thing with any kind of, whether it's sports player, artist, politician, musician, whatever it may be. Love what they do in that profession and in that skill. Take what they do well and use that as motivation for things in that field that you admire about them, right? Steve Smith, he could teach you about tenacity and determination playing sports and overcoming odds. You can take that from him, man. I don't got no problem with it. I love Steve Smith on the field. You can take that from him. But to call this city a weak-ass city, you're forgetting how many people stuck up for you and how many people went to bat for you when a lot of things have happened for you personally, and when people talk about you not getting in the Hall of Fame. You know how many people ride for you? Talk about ride or die. You got a bunch of ride on this side here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the Panthers fans aren't just in Charlotte, North Carolina. So singling out Charlotte, it's a funny thing. To quote a Nipsey Hussle lyric, though, if I may, that resonates with me, and this is for me, right? This is the way that I look at this, and this is why I don't care about what Steve Smith says. Cut from the cloth that you couldn't stretch, right? What makes me up, what shapes me, is that I want like my son and wife and the rest of my loved ones to be able to say about me without question what I'm trying to portray about myself. Whether it's through personal experiences, wanting better for them, whether it's through faith, whether it's simply like desires that align respectfully to my moral compass, right? That's my fabric. That's who I am. Not sports players, not the artists, not any of them. This guy went to band camp in Baltimore Ravens University, whatever you may say, popped a Hardy, and didn't have the capacity to control both of his heads at the same time. So he took a wrecking ball to his life and to another person's life. That don't got nothing to do with sports. I get it. But you can't call somebody weak. You can't talk about the character of people. You can't talk about the loyalty of people when that is the behavior that you are acceptable for. It's not me, man. Like, I don't believe in that kind of shit. I don't act that kind of way. And I do take certain disrespect to people telling me that I'm weak or that the people I love are weak because they don't accept bullshit and losing, habitually losing. Like really think about it, man. That's what makes you weak, is that you fought back against being complacent or content with losing and all that. I don't know, man. It's not for me. Part of me, if I don't value him trying to teach me about strong character and loyalty.
Yeah, very well put, Ricky. Listen, I love Steve Smith. I have his jersey in my closet. I've worn his jersey to multiple Carolina Panthers games in person. When we talk about this franchise that all of us love so dearly in the Carolina Panthers, we talk about a franchise that has struggled mightily throughout the 30 years of its creation to put a good product on the field. And I think, Ricky, you touched on it. Fans are not okay with losing. We want to see a good product on the field. And we've been through situations with owners and then getting Tepper and dealing with Tepper. And fans still show up. There's still fans at the game. It might not be in the droves that you would hope, but fans still show up. Curtis pays every year for PSLs, and he drives an hour from Winston and goes down there to every single game, shows up when we're going 5-12. All right. So I think when you try to encompass a whole city in Charlotte that has dealt with not only a bad football team for years, 8 years in a row now, the Charlotte Hornets, who have struggled to put a good product onto the basketball court, they still sell a ton of tickets year in and year out. I think it's just so disingenuous to say something like that for a city that hasn't had a consistent franchise to count on, but still they show up. Still they cheer every offseason where we have hope that they're going to be better. And every year we get into it, it seems like they let us down. And guess what? The next year we have hope, we show up, and they let us down. So it's not the fans' fault that the product on the field hasn't been good. I mean, if they would have listened to us, the team might be looking better this year. Quite honestly, from some of the decisions that have been made year in and year out from this front office and head coach and owner. So I think to say that was, I don't know if he was misspeaking. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I do like him, for what he did for this franchise and for the city when he was here as a player. But it's hard to see that. It really is because he's the best wide receiver in our history. Like he's on the Mount Rushmore, I would think, of players that have ever worn this jersey. And to turn around and say this is a weak ass city, years into retirement is not acceptable. It's really not. And then you say, yeah, well, I invest in the city. I have roots in the city. Then why talk shit on it? Like if you
Exactly.
love it so much, if you're investing in it, then why say it's weak? Like why not build it up? Why not support it? Why not say, hey, yeah, you know what? Maybe this franchise hasn't done the right things by the fans year in and year out, but they're still there. And not only our podcast, there's so many other like people that do these podcasts that are for the Carolina Panthers as fans that do not get paid to do this, but get on here weekly and talk about the Panthers losing in week 1 in a blowout to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then we get on here and Bryce Young fumbles on the first play, and we're talking about that. And yeah, they have a chance to win, but we start 0-2. So it's frustrating to say something like that. But I think without a doubt, Charlotte is not a weak ass city, and the team would have been moved 8 years ago if they were. You force out the franchise quarterback and Cam Newton because you bring in a head coach that doesn't like him and an owner that wants to be the sole, focus at that point in time for this franchise, and you force out Cam Newton. Maybe then you move the team. But this is a weak ass city, and they can't handle that stuff. So I disavow all weak ass city comments. I do not think Charlotte's weak at all. I think they've put up with a lot, and I think they're going to continue to do it year in and year out because they care about that team and they care about that franchise.
Yeah. Players always say, don't tell a player how to play. And I go to Steve Smith, don't tell a fan how to fan. Like, don't step into that. You're not a fan. Like, don't step into that territory. You're a player. You're a former player. Bryson touched on it. Product on the field. I mean, this team is 36-81 since David Tepper took over this team.
Bad.
They've went through 7 head coaches, including interim head coaches.
7.
And you still have a guy who's speaking right now who has bought season's tickets since he's moved to this city. I might not live in Charlotte, but I'm pretty damn close to it. And I've spent money year after year to watch this team suck. I spent time to go to a Falcons game where there was a couple thousand fans there in miserable weather to watch this team come back and win. There are fans that give a shit and that are going to ride or die. And there are diehard fans. He might be talking about the wine and cheese folks that sell their tickets, but I'll tell you what, there are some diehard fans out there that give a shit and that are doing a podcast right now when this team is 0-2, that were doing a podcast when this team was 5-12 the year before, was doing a podcast when this team was 5-12 the year before that, was doing a podcast when this team was worse than that with 2 wins. People give a shit about this team. And you pick out anyone that's been a former Panther, Steve Smith is the last person to call anyone weak. Look in the mirror, and that's all I'll say on it.
Yeah, and let's close it with, you guys talked about the David Tepper and like when he got here and how the regime has been since then. If this city didn't love the team, if this city wasn't great fans for this team, why has there been such concern that Tepper is going to uproot this franchise from the city, right? So many fans, that has been concern number one, is that it's like, if this team doesn't get better on the field, Tepper's going to go because he's money. He has no emotional ties. He has no sentimental ties to this city and this franchise. And that's what we as fans have. So it is very, what's the right word? Condescending, belittling to sit there and say that this is a weak ass city because when you played in the Super Bowl, people treated you bad when you were 1-15. I think that it's okay to not be satisfied with 1-15 football from an NFL football team. I think it's okay to not be satisfied with Bryce Young being 6-24 as a starter. I understand criticism, and I love Bryce Young. I understand the criticism. You want to win games, man. And So without getting more of a tangent, it's the don't throw stones when you live in a glass house. Don't call people weak. Don't talk about their character and not being loyal when the epitome of your life outside of the field from what has come up on the public field or the public arena, it's got a bit about that.
And one other quick point that I want to add is a newer franchise to the city of Charlotte in Charlotte FC, who has put good product on the field pretty much from its creation, game in and game out, has an atmosphere that is unbelievable. I haven't been to a Charlotte FC game, but I see the highlights. I see the fans in the stadium jumping up and down, waving flags. Like, this city has passion, and they are willing to show it when the product on the field shows it. Because from what we've seen for the past 8 years, it seems like the fans care more about winning than the players on the field did. So I'll leave it at that.
And Bo here says, he apologized, y'all. He's done way more for Carolina than anyone going after his personal life. He misspoke. I lived in Charlotte for 30 years and know what he meant. I don't know, man. I don't buy that, Bo. I don't think he misspoke. I think that he's getting a reaction that he didn't anticipate. He literally said, this is where the player in me comes out. This is where I do my thing. This is where I get pissy. This is what Bryson said, or this is what Curtis said. He's not a fan. He's a former player. And so he gets all defensive about certain things, but fans are different than former players. He's done more for Carolina than anyone going after his personal life. Look, he's done a lot for Carolina. He also has millions of dollars that he's earned from Carolina. And you can't do one without the other. I appreciate and can separate the things that he has done from a philanthropy standpoint and what he's poured back into the community, but he never has anything to pour into the community if he didn't have the community to begin with. So I think that's where I just have a hard time with that. And saying that he misspoke, I just don't buy that. I think that he regretted what he said. And a lot of times when people regret what they say they misspoke. You've lived in Charlotte for 30 years. I've lived here for 38. So, I mean, I get it. And I know what he meant. You guys touched on it with the cheese eating crowd. Sure, man, people give away their tickets and they do all of this and that. But when they give away their tickets, those are tickets that they've already bought. And they're trying to recoup some value because the team isn't giving the return that they want on it. If the team is good, I don't think that as many of these people are trying to sell their tickets to the opposing fans. I don't think they want to go and watch getting the mud hole kicked in them 38-10 by the Cowboys again. And I just think that they're looking at it and saying, I spent, $3,000 on PSLs. I can get $800 for 1 week to give them up to a Cowboys fan. And maybe I deserve a little bit of my money back with this franchise. That's what I would say.
You're on mute, Curtis.
Mute.
That would be great. All right, Carter, $4.99. We appreciate the super chat. We have less wins than the Cleveland Browns since 2016. Steve Smith can ice up his ass, son.
Carter.
Yeah, I need another beer. We've been through 3 already. I'll just dabble in this and then I'll go get one while we get into this.
And then let's get into this other game.
So let's move on. Let's go to
Thank you, Carter.
The game this weekend. So Atlanta's coming to town. It's hostile in here, man. The tension, I can feel it, even in the chat. Well, let's get into the game this weekend. Atlanta coming in. What are they? They're 1-1 on this season. Ricky mentioned it way earlier. They played the Minnesota Vikings Sunday Night Football. I'll be honest, I still think, we'll get into it, but I think Carolina's got a chance the way what I was seeing on this past week. But let's get into statistically speaking. Ricky, I'll let you take this one away.
What everybody tunes in for. All right, guys.
All right, let's take a look at what we got here then this week. And look, some of these stats and stuff, you got to take into account, man. It's been 2 weeks, right? So all of this has changed dramatically. You can also see the way that one game impacts it. So you can't really take all of this as like gospel for where teams are going to be for the rest of the season. But let's just go through this really quickly, okay?
Ricky,
points per game, yes.
Rick, can I stop you real quick?
Of course.
I missed last week, and
Yep.
I wanted to give you a shout out because I watched, and I was accustomed to what it was last season.
Yeah.
And then I saw the changes you made, your little intro, and then the graphics that you've made. So shout out to you, dude, because this is awesome. I think it's perfectly well instrumented with the way that you do the graphics. I think the fans and us, Curtis and I, are lucky that we get this so easily ingestible. So I just wanted to give you a shout out, man. I think this is perfect and awesome.
You are just the nicest fellow I've ever known, man. You and Edgar Salmingo Jr. I tell you what, man, the two nicest Panthers fans I've ever met. Thank you for saying that, Bryson. Let's get into it. Points per game. Offense for the Carolina Panthers. 16 points per game. That's 29th in the league. Passing yards per game. This is a nice figure, especially when you have a 300-yard passing game. It's going to go up when you only got 2 weeks. 222.5 yards. That's 13th best in the league. Disappointing number here. 81 rush yards per game. 27th in the league. Game script, man. You can't be deep in the hole to start every football game and expect them to run the ball 25 to 30 times. It ain't going to happen. EPA, that's expected points added per pass attempt, 28th in the league at 0.22 on the negative side of things. EPA per rush attempt, tied for 21st at 0.08. Now that's down. It was 0 flat against the Jacksonville Jaguars, so you can see where that the discrepancy kind of came from this week because they did not run the ball very much, and they were not overly effective in running the football. Pass percentage, the amount of times that they pass the football is 68.1% of the games. That is second highest in the league.
Crazy.
Again, I'm going to say game script, man. We just cannot be in these holes like this, Bryce. And it's going to continue. And if this team isn't multiple, if this team doesn't have the threat of their run game, this team is going to struggle, man, because right now they have one dynamic pass catcher and they got a reliable slot in Hunter Renfrow.
Ricky, do you know off the top of your head who was number one?
Miami Dolphins, I believe.
Oh,
yep.
That is not the company you want to be in.
That's not where you want to be. A, they've been getting smoked, and B, Mike McDaniel is about to get run out of town soon for the way that he runs that. And you know what, man? That's a team.
Goodness.
Here's the thing, Bryson. I'm glad you asked me about that, actually, because from a contrast standpoint, right? Miami Dolphins are a team that we have seen make the postseason. We have seen with their high-powered, speed-oriented offense.
Yeah.
But the minute they get in playoff football or in adverse weather conditions and they have to use physicality, they are whooped out of that conversation.
Yep. That
is the opposite of what Dave Canales and this Panthers staff and this Panthers team had said this team was going to be about. So that is something that has to be fixed if you can. Let's get straight into the defense. We're going to work through this because we spent so long talking on the recap of the other game. I want to get through this so we can talk a little bit. Defense, we allow 26.5 points per game. That's tied for 23rd. Pass yards per game, 11th best in the league, only allowing 194.5. To me, that's impressive as well when you look at the fact that we played the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they did not attack us throwing the football. They also ran for 200 yards, so why did they need to? But they had weapons. The Arizona Cardinals, again, man, had weapons, and they weren't overly effective running the football against us. So I think that this is testament to what J.C. Horn, Mike Jack, and Ejiro Evero have been able to draw up schematically for this defense to start the season. 141 rushing yards per game. What a big drop. It was 200 last week. So you can just see we had a pretty nice performance against the run last week against Arizona, and I hope that it carries over because we got a challenge coming this week. That's 26th worst in the league, by the way. EPA per pass attempt on defense, plus 0.1 points per pass attempt. That's tied for 23rd worst. EPA per rush is tied for 25th worst at plus 0.11. And then the amount of times that an opponent is passing against us is 51.4% of the time, and that's the 25th highest or lowest value there for that. Let's get into some keys of this game, or for this defense and this offense. The offense is on the left side here with the blue. Guys, this is what I think is going to be important for us. Time to pressure against on offense. 2.53 seconds. That's 25th worst in the league. That means that our offensive line is allowing people to get to us pretty quickly. Now, that's not the same as, sack percentage, because our sack numbers aren't necessarily the worst in the league. But time to pressure against means it's going to get you off your rhythm too, man. And this offense, kind of similarly to Atlanta, to be completely honest, is a rhythm-based offense. Bryce Young is a rhythm-based quarterback. We see it. When he gets in rhythm and he has some tempo, Curtis, he is really playing well, and he can play better than when we see him kind of panicking a little bit and having to get off script. Quarterback pressure rate allowed, though, 27th worst, 37.4% of the time you're getting quarterback pressure. That's not going to work well. And when we get into Atlanta, you're going to see why. And then 10 plus yard rushes for the Carolina Panthers. 2 of them so far this season. Just 2. That is tied for 28th worst in the league. This offense is going to have to start asserting themselves, man. And it can't just be the dink and dunk pass game. They got to start like putting foots on necks and going out there and utilizing the fact that they have Chuba Hubbard and then brought in Rico Dowdle. They spent another draft pick on Travis Etienne. They have got to start playing some power football. Curtis, we didn't talk about this when we talked about the Arizona 2-point conversions, but I'll bring it up real quickly. I thought it was very interesting that on that play call, especially the one where we got the penalty and we got to try it again from the 1, thought it was very interesting that when they committed to running the football, and this goes to this power football ideology I'm trying to talk about, when they committed to doing that, they did it with Jatavian Sanders and another tight end out there. When you commit to doing that, you should throw out Brady Christensen. I thought that you could still have Yash active for that. Yash had a really nice run blocking performance against the Jaguars. Why not go jumbo? If you know you're going to run that football, throw the biggest sons of bitches you got out there and overpower somebody, right? That is not some sort of cute thing. That, again, might be a donut situation. You just need to go out there and play to who you are and play to your strengths. Defensive keys for me, this was the same one last week. Quarterback pressure rate, 24.2, 30th in the league. They've got to figure out a way to manufacture some pressure. They cannot have everybody just sitting still and calm and being able to pick us apart against zone coverage for the entire game. They've got to do something about that. Time to throw for the defensive standpoint. Now, this will also be something that I'll talk about and kind of like tie in with the Atlanta Falcons. Time to throw. We have the 10th best, tied for 10th quickest throw to release allowed against us, 2.69. I'll get into why that's important for me. Yards after contact per rush attempt, 3.95. That's 28th worst in the league. About to play Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They do not go down easily. Bijan is as shifty as it comes, and he's physical, and Tyler Algier is essentially a cinder block with arms and legs. So it is going to be a hike.
I wonder if that time to throw, Ricky, that the defense is 10th best at it has anything to do with like the off-ball coverage that ever runs a lot. Yeah,
it does. And that's exactly what I'm going to tie in here with the Falcons, because if you allow Michael Penix Jr. and their passing game to play in rhythm and play quick with their passing game, that is where he is best, and that is where they are efficient. And so they have to change that. They have to make Michael Penix Jr. take time in the pocket. Make him go through progressions. Make him move off of what he wants to do, and he struggles in that department. So that's thank you, Bryson. What an astute observation. All right, let's look at the Atlanta offense. They average 21 points per game, tied for 21st. They're not world beaters. Pass yards per game, tied for 20th at 198.5. They got Drake London. Kyle Pitts has played well for them. Shock to every fantasy owner in the entire world. But Kyle Pitts has actually looked like a pretty good football player. Here's the big thing. Rushing yards per game, 143.5, fourth most in the NFL. This team's going to run the football, man, and they're pretty dang good at it. EPA per pass, tied for 17th for, efficiency-wise. They're not like a dangerous team, but they're also not a middling, sluggish team. EPA per rush, tied for 14th. Again, middle of the road, at 0. Pass percentage, 50% of the time they pass. That is the 28th least, tied for 28th least amount of throwing the football. They like to run the football. There is context with their offensive defense as well, and that's the opponent that they played in week 2, the Minnesota Vikings, the J.J. McCarthy-led Minnesota Vikings that have been wildly underwhelming. I know that he had his feverish comeback against the Chicago Bears. We also have seen the Chicago Bears are essentially a new doormat that you just bought from, Hearth and Stone or wherever you get your outdoor leisure activity wear. They are easy to walk on. 14.5 points per game for the Atlanta defense. That is tied for second best in the NFL. What a shock. This Atlanta defense is a shock on statistic-wise. But again, they just played the Minnesota Vikings and had a wonderful performance against that Vikings team that was down their premier left tackle and that had other issues. Jordan Addison is out. Aaron Jones left that game. So there's contextual stuff to add to this. Passing yards per game, they allow the second fewest at 139.5. They will be down AJ Terrell against us this week. And that is a significant loss because D. Alford will be picking up a lot of it. Clark Phillips will be picking up a lot of action. Clark Phillips, if you don't know him, is a very small cornerback. So I hope that they use that to their advantage. Rushing yards per game, 9th fewest in the league at 89.5. EPA per pass, 5th best at negative 0.26 points per pass attempt. EPA per rush, 0.06 on the negative side for 10th best in the NFL. And then opponents pass the ball 58.8% of the time. That is 13th in the NFL. This defense, man, like statistically, they look like a very, very good defense. And what's really interesting to me, guys, James Pierce Jr. has been getting a lot of quarterback pressure, not necessarily finishing them with sacks. Jalen Walker had his first sack. But Divine Diablo has been a menace for that Atlanta Falcons team. Jeff Ulbrich is using him. Jeff Ulbrich is a new defensive coordinator there. He has been using him in really creative ways. Their safeties, man. They have rookie safeties and a rookie nickel that everyone should be very familiar with both of these guys because we talked about both of them a lot on the show. Xavier Watts is phenomenal back there playing the deep third on defense. And then Billy Bowman Jr. looks like an absolute robber, just a thief in the secondary. Yep. He is a madman coming in at 100 miles an hour. He's not finishing every single play yet, but he's in the mix of so many plays. Keys to this game for me. Again, time to throw. Here it is, Bryson. Time to throw for the Atlanta Falcons, 2.65 seconds, tied for 7th quickest. That is because they are a rhythm team. And what happens is if you're playing off coverage like the Carolina Panthers do very often, you may allow really quick processing and throws, and it may work into their schematic plan. And that may be something that Evero might have to consider throwing some different looks. I do recall seeing a little bit more of JC closer to the line of scrimmage. Maybe you see a little bit of Shaw Smith-Wade playing inside the box against a slot. Maybe you see Trayvon Merrick, even if he hasn't been terrific at it, maybe you do see him playing closer inside the box up against Kyle Pitts as well, just to kind of give Michael Penix Jr. a little bit of second thought before he just goes to a predetermined read. Average target separation for their offense, 3.1 yards per target. That's 28th in the league. I point that out because, again, when you have their quick game like they do and they get the ball out so quickly, you're not running deep routes downfield, but also the talent that they have on that team. Drake London is not a elite separator necessarily. Drake London is a ball winner, but we have a guy in JC Horn that if Evero decides to do a little bit of man here, if he decides to mix it up a little bit, it's a really nice matchup for the Carolina Panthers, in my opinion. Yards after contact per carry. Again, this is something I brought up on the defensive side for the Panthers for a reason. They average 3.42 yards after contact per carry. That's 12th best in the league. This Panthers team better buckle up, man, and make some tackles. Roseboom, Trevin, Trayvon Merrick, hell, definitely Nick Scott. I need y'all to lock in. Like, I do not want to see the Nick Scott angles of Christmas past. I need this to be the new age, man. Let's look at their defense real quick. Quarterback pressure rate. This is what I was talking about as well. 46.3%. They are getting pressure on the quarterback. That is 4th best in the league. That is wild. Again, take the context of that Minnesota Vikings offensive line without Christian Darrisaw. Take it to context, J.J. McCarthy, all of those things. They have turned that into, though, here's why it's important, is they've turned that into 7 sacks, which is tied for 5th most of the league. So they are finishing plays as well. Because a lot of time last year when we did these statistically speaking segments, we would talk about people being able to pressure a quarterback and get them off their mark, but not finishing plays. Atlanta so far has been finishing.
And did they get, 5 sacks this last game? I think like 5 of them were recent.
And 2 of them were the week prior against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Who we know is down Tristan Wirfs. And then I just saw right now that they lost Cody Mard. Yep, right guard is out for the season. So interesting to note there about the division rival. Last key for me on the defense is the yards after contact per carry that they allow is 2.86, which is 12th best in the NFL. I want to see, we talked about the 10-plus yard rushes, only having 2 for the Carolina Panthers. I need to see some broken tackles. I need to see blockers getting out in space. Chandler Zavala and Cade Mays are going to be in. Robert Hunt will be out. Austin Corbett is out. Cade Mays is a grader. He's a physical guy. He's a wider body. Chandler Zavala, TBD, to be completely honest. I want to see what happens here because I am not entirely sure what that offensive line will look like. But I think they need to lean in. This is a home game, so the operation aspect should be better out of the gates. Fellas, you have listened to me talk now for plenty long enough. What do you think about the things that we just talked about?
Dude, the numbers might be inflated a little bit, like you mentioned, from Darisaw being out and playing JJ McCarthy, but that quarterback pressure rate is scary. I think Atlanta really did a good job in, them being one of the worst last year and getting sacks and pressuring the quarterback and investing in that defensive line. And it's been paying dividends early on in the season. So I think when you have an offensive line that's lost a couple starters, that Ikem Ekwander's coming back off an injury or off of a surgery, I think that's scary. And with a quarterback that we know starts slow or has historically, that's a recipe for danger to begin this game. And I think that's terrifying for me. I mean, to be pressured to have a rate almost 50% of the time on a quarterback. We'll see how that plays out. Maybe Carolina does some good jobs scheming, in protection for that. But man, I'm not feeling very confident in Carolina's ability to match up against this defensive line, especially early on in the game.
Sorry, I was trying to find out how you do this membership with mobile. I was trying to help the chat out here. Going into this game, just going off of what I saw this past week, I think the key in this one, at least defensively, is we're getting a ton of guys that Atlanta didn't face last year. They didn't go against Derek Brown. He was out. They didn't go against Bobby Brown. He wasn't on the team. They haven't seen Princely. They haven't seen Scorton. They didn't get to see J.C. Horn last year. Penix didn't get to throw or try to throw against J.C. Horn at all. I mean, he was going up against Shamar Bartholomew, Caleb Evans, Caleb Farley. I mean, those are the guys he was throwing against. Let's put this in perspective a little bit. And now he's going to be throwing against J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, Smith Wade. We had Thomas Incoom at starting linebacker in that game. I'm not knocking this guy. He's been key on special teams. I get that, but I mean, some of these guys that were in there, Kenny Dyson, you guys remember him? He was playing in this game.
That's the vacuum, baby.
I mean, we gotta put that in perspective. And I get it. Like, Atlanta has taken a pretty considerable leap on defense. I think they hit on all four of those defensive guys, which it's hard to do in this league. And Carolina's going to have their hands full. I'm only praying that AJ Terrell is out. He didn't practice today. I'm only praying James Pierce is out. He didn't practice today.
Terrell is definitely out.
Yeah, it sounds like Terrell is a hamstring week to week type of thing. Yep. So he's probably out. Pierce, it sounds like he's probably leaning to play. But hey, I mean, one can
Pierce
hope.
Is the kind of guy that could give Icky some serious trouble because of his speed rush too. Like, that is the archetype that typically gives Icky a little bit more of a fit. Although I will say too, man, just since we're on the subject of it, Icky was way more patient and receptive of rushers in that game against Arizona than he had been. I liked it, man. He was not oversetting. He got beat a handful, 2-3 times probably, but I thought Icky looked pretty dang good, man. The grades for PFF didn't show it. From my eye, man, I thought he looked pretty dang good.
No, and I don't disagree with you. I thought Icky, in his first game back, all things considered, held up pretty well in this past game. And, the Cardinals have a pretty good defensive line. Like, they're no slouch. I do want to touch on this while we're talking about it real quick. That Thick Nasty brings up. and I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on this because we all know where I'm at with Brady, and I do agree. I do agree with him here. I'm not a big Zavala guy, and maybe has improved. It's Canales, I think, even talked about today, or the other day, even maybe on Monday it was, that he's had some great off season. I think he called it, but.
Who hasn't had a great offseason to Dave Canales,
yeah,
man?
No shit.
Who hasn't come into the best shape? He told us that Jalen Coker came into the best shape he'd seen him in a long time.
No, wasn't there a report out there that they didn't like the shape Coker was in?
After he said that he loved the commitment and athleticism that he showed that he gained, and then he said he wasn't happy with his conditioning.
So, but anyway, so I would prefer Brady at that spot, and I think I saw a video today. If you see the tail end of it, I can't remember who posted it.
I believe it was Gabe McDonald.
And it was Cade Mays showing his the first team. And then I saw Brady at backup center. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Brady at that spot alongside Moton. And I do like Mays. I don't think that's too much of a step down because I thought Mays did some really good things. I hope he gets his snaps figured out because I know that was kind of an issue. He had kind of the opposite of Corbett last year. It was low. He had a lot of low snaps, I believe, if I remember correctly. So, hopefully that is sorted out by this point. But I don't think Mays is much of a step down. And Mays played in the game last year in Atlanta, and so did Zavala, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's almost the same exact offensive
Yeah, that was
line.
the combo. Yep.
So, and was Lewis in that game? I don't know if he was. I don't think he was.
I don't think so.
Because
he was dealing with something towards the end of the year. I think it was that shoulder again, but I can't remember if he played.
I'm gonna go and try to find that.
Yeah,
it might have been Kingston, whatever his name was.
I don't think Lewis was in that game. Yeah. I think a lot of guys were out. Yep. But anyway, I just think I know everyone wants to talk about the new additions Atlanta has, but there are guys too on Carolina that Atlanta hasn't seen yet. J.C. Horn being one of them. Derek Brown, Penix hasn't seen these guys yet. And I'll tell you what, I saw that Sunday night game this past weekend, and there were points where this team is beatable. They're not the lead dogs in this division. There are areas where they struggle as well. So Carolina's going to have their hands full. Bijan Robinson, he had 170 last year on them. Carolina just tore them up. And I think he had I have the stats up. Where are they here? He had 95 in the first game last year, and then he had 170 against historically the worst defense ever. So you'd hope to see some improvement there. But if you're a bet man, I'm putting 100 yards on Bijan Robinson.
They also didn't see JC. They didn't see Derek Brown. We didn't have Bobby Brown. There are notable things about this Carolina team, and we went in to beat them in Atlanta. There are notable additions to this Carolina team that I think are going to make a significant impact in this specific game. I also think that being at home, the operational aspect of this is a lot smoother. I think that works well. I just think, man, and we're going to get into predictions and all that. I really think Bo just said it right here. Preseason is over. We joked about this, guys. All of us joked about this. And when we said that they weren't going to play these guys, or we saw how they didn't play them, said it's going to take a game and a half for these guys to get their shit in order. Guess what it took, fellas? It took a game and a half for these guys to get their shit in order and realize that this counts. And now they come home and they've got a city that's fired up, right? I got a good feeling about it. Let's talk about it, boys.
I want to touch on something because, and this kind of goes back to what Bo was saying a little bit. We have not seen, and I get it, we're a year and some change into this Canales regime with Bryce Young, but we have not seen a third game of the season with Dave Canales and Bryce Young. We didn't see it. He was benched last year. That is unknown. What is the jump? I know there's always this the jump from week 1 to week 2 is supposed to be huge for a lot of teams. But what is that jump from week 2 to 3 with Bryce Young and Dave Canales? because it feels like these first 2 games were dress rehearsals, them sorting things out. Bryce Young kind of coming into his own in that second half of last week. What does game 3 look like? Because we have not seen that yet with these two at all. And I know there's past games. I know they played 10, 15 together, but we have not seen that in an actual start of a season. So anyway, I think that is notable too, with all the additions and everything else and what Atlanta hasn't seen. Like, we have not been able to see that. No team has been able to see that yet. And I think that is notable, whether you agree with me or not. Bryson, why the hell are you laughing? I need to know.
There was a comment. I'll get to it, but
yeah, I saw the comment.
First, I want to say I feel bad for this team coming home because this is a weak ass city, and the fans aren't going to turn out, and I just feel bad for the Carolina Panthers, first of all. But second, we do have a second member, and I wanted to shout him out.
Hell yeah, we need to shout him out.
Dylan Neer, we appreciate
Cheers,
the
Dylan.
support, man. So cheers to you, dude.
You can actually see the beer in there. Look at that.
I'm excited for when we start putting some of this like member exclusive opportunities, content. You know, I think that we should do, because we can't do film like NFL film stuff because of the copyright, and they'll take it down or whatever. But maybe for some of our exclusive stuff, maybe we don't even have to worry about the monetization of that content. And we can do some stuff where the 3 of us sit here and watch a little film together and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think that's a great idea. I think people will love that, and we'll take the hit on that.
And then before I move on, this was the comment I was laughing at. Excel's going to go for 11 targets, 2 catches, and 5 yards.
We didn't talk about Excel's hamstring that popped up today, boys, and we need to talk about that.
Well, and I do like, and I retweeted replied to it. And if you don't follow this guy, I'm going to shout him out because I know he listens to us, and that's the salesman on Twitter. And if you haven't seen his tweet,
that's great.
He had retweeted a tweet. I'm not going to say who it was from. It's someone we don't speak of on the show any longer. But he had quote tweeted something, and he said Dave Canales walking out to practice behind XL today, and it was the scene of Dumb and Dumber where Owen Wilson hits the back of Jim Carrey's leg as he's walking into the prom, and it was Dave Canales basically attacking. If someone can pull this up, I can pull it up. I have it. It's pretty damn funny, but everyone talks about like, he doesn't want to bench him. Oh man, Ricky might be on this. It's pretty damn funny. So yeah, that's perfect. I was just laughing my ass off about it. But I'm going to take that down because I don't want the other guy to get any. I might be petty on that. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm petty too.
But anyway,
I'll pose this for the chat real quick, Curtis. We get a third member tonight. Ricky and I will do a shot on live. Yeah. Third member to join.
He's like, all right.
I've been waiting for somebody to do something to make me take a shot, damn it.
I knew he would be down.
I got a bottle of Buffalo Trace just sitting out there itching for my hand around.
I got a bottle of Eagle Rare Buffalo Trace.
Well, if they wouldn't make these memberships top secret,
you one up and son of a bitch. Look at him. I'm sitting here talking about I got this Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace, dude.
Oh, I'll swap with you, man. Bring it on down.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Panther
boat. All right, I gotta
now, y'all talk for a second because I got to go out to the bar and get my liquor.
Yeah. All right. Curtis, I'll stay while he goes, and then I'll go.
No, I can go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, you're good. I do want to talk for a minute. I want to catch up on this chat a little bit here because you guys have been talking, and I don't want to discount some of y'all here that we missed throughout here. And guys, I've been working on the mobile stuff. I've been trying to figure that out. I know there's a way to do it. I don't know why it's some top secret thing to join as a member for a YouTube channel. It makes no sense to me. But I do want to discuss here for a second the Atlanta Falcons for a moment. And The one thing, and I know this guy has struggled, he's had his struggles, but Kyle Pitts seems to have some sort of kryptonite. He's the kryptonite for the Carolina Panthers. I feel like every time he goes up against Carolina, he finds a way to be relevant again and give fantasy owners that relevancy for a little while, and then he kind of just falls off. And that is one concern. And some of y'all might not have the same sentiment as me, but just the way our linebackers have played, I always fear any tight end, and the physical nature that, or the attributes that Kyle Pitts has. And maybe you guys both disagree with me on this. I don't know, but I just feel like Kyle Pitts always finds a way to be relevant when he plays Carolina.
Well, Carolina's also not good against tight ends.
Exactly.
So
and the linebacker core sucks.
Yeah.
So that would be one guy I'd be keying in on. I always feel like Ray McLeod.
Go ahead and pour up a shot real quick while Curtis finishes talking. We'll pour
Ray McLeod is someone Carolina. It seems like they've struggled to cover last year. Darnell Mooney is kind of coming back. He's been nursing that injury. Didn't have much of an impact this past week, but I feel like he will. But yeah, hey, you guys got the shots. What did Eagle River is what you got, Bryson?
Eagle River.
Eagle River.
You don't know
what are you doing, Curtis?
You don't know what Eagle River is?
No, I know it, but there's an Eagle River too.
I don't know. It
might
be some shit out there that's Eagle River, but there's also Aristocrat and shit out there. Eagle Rare is good.
Fuck.
You got the little mini snifter? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
That's a big shot.
So is mine. This is a peasant glass. This ain't a shot glass. This is a peasant glass. This is about 9 ounces.
Feigning Goat Spirits in Greensboro. Shout out to them.
I like it. This is what I drink my little Italian red wine with my lunch during the days because it's a little like, hey, not too much, you know. And now Thick Nasty's a member too.
Oh, all right.
Now we're talking. Hey, and by the way, also Wesley Carrier was the high super chat tonight. Wesley, appreciate you. We're gonna go ahead and loop you in on this one too, brother.
I grabbed another beer for you, Wesley.
Cheers.
Wow.
Let's get this thing done. Let's go. And see, the fun thing is, now we're all riled up so we could do another 2.5 hours of Panthers on Tap.
Do it. I'm locked in.
We got predictions up next. Is that what we're doing here?
Yes, predictions. I'm going to start this week. And by the way, Ricky tweeted this out, but I do want to give him a shout out. He correctly predicted the score. I don't know how we did it last week. Pulled the rabbit out of the hat, and he said 27-22. So credit to you, Ricky. That was impressive. I don't know last year if any of us did that. So
I'm going to tell you now, if I predict this next game and I'm right, and I find out that I have
only doing the prediction.
If I find out that I have this kind of power, I'm off Panthers on Tap, and I've got something much bigger waiting for me in Las Vegas.
Oh shit.
So this weekend, all right, let's talk about it. I'll go first. I usually am on the tail end of this. So, I'm not fucking picking Atlanta. There ain't no way in hell I'm picking that shit ass team down in Georgia. I think Carolina finds a way, scratching and clawing, to get a win this weekend. It might not be pretty. It might be close game. It might not be a lot of points. It might be that NFC South battle that we've expected over the years. But I think Carolina at home, the energy of this weak-ass city comes alive, and Carolina finds a way to beat the crowned Hall of Fame quarterback, Michael Penix, and they win this one. I'll go 24-20. It's a close game. It's going to come down probably to the last possession. Carolina is going to start off. They're going to start off better. They're going to kind of leak out in the middle and then find a way at the end to win this one, I think. And Carolina wins it 24-20, NFC South, and they get their first win of the year at home.
Yeah, I'll hop in here. I've talked down a lot tonight about the Carolina Panthers, and we talked about the Falcons pass rush. Ricky mentioned, maybe it's Darisaw, maybe it's J.J. McCarthy. Bryce Young's a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy. I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. I think he played a terrible Chicago Bears team, and that went into my bet for this upcoming we're going to talk about after this. The Panthers, like, historically do split with the Falcons, right? It's the Panthers will win at home, and then the Falcons will win at home. I think that this team needs a win so desperately that they're going to show that on the field on Sunday. So I do like the Panthers in this game. I really do. I think that Bryce Young, Ricky mentioned it, and Curtis, you mentioned it as well. The communication aspect, from the play caller to the quarterback is going to be better being at home. I think Bryce is just more comfortable playing at Bank of America than anywhere else, which is understandable. So I think the offense is going to at least not get off to a terrible start. It might not be a quick start, but they're not going to turn the ball over and allow Atlanta to get a touchdown off of it, hopefully. So I think with that, paired with the defense continuing to trend upward, I think that Carolina comes away with a win. So I think I got the Panthers 21, Falcons 17.
Oh, boys. When I watch pregame NFL shows and every analyst picks the team, it makes my fucking legs itch. I'm just like, that ain't gonna go well for that team, right? And tonight, I think we break that bullshit because I'm going Carolina Panthers too. Carolina rights the ship this week in the bank in front of a bunch of strong ass fans. I'm gonna tell you what right now. The Atlanta Falcons made 5 field goals last week against the Minnesota Vikings.
I was going to mention that. Parker Romo.
5 field goals with their kid that just came on. Didn't even know who Leonard Floyd was. Good for you, man. Love a good first-time story. Kind of like when Andy Dalton blew up against the Las Vegas Raiders, right? That Andy Dalton wasn't ever to be heard of again. But that one game sure was cool, right, Parker Romo? This defense for the Carolina Panthers has shown signs of life. I don't think that there is anything outside of the run game for Atlanta, which is a serious threat. But I don't think there's anything else on that side of the football that makes me nervous. I would take Bryce Young over Michael Penix Jr. every day of the week. I would take Tedero McMillan over Drake London every day of the week.
Amen.
Kyle Pitts is a good football player, and he's going to go up against a group of players that have been struggling. That might be a place where you find some weakness. They might be able to exploit that a little bit. Our run defense ain't a bunch of bums like people think it was, and it's not the 200-yard given up run defense that Jacksonville Jaguars game painted them as. So I'm going to look at this game, and I'm going to say it like this. I think that they go 26-23. Carolina wins this game in the bank. I don't know that they – here's the way that they got to do it, though. I think that these field goals, right, because 26 you're going to have to kick some field goals. I think that they start kicking the field goals early because I think that they don't start slow and sluggish, and I don't think they force themselves into having to go for it on 4th downs. I don't think that they force themselves into having to throw the football. I think that they're able to get out and score on almost every possession to start the football game. I think they lean into the run game. I think that Chuba has a really nice game. I think that Bryce Young can be effective on the quick pass game. I also expect a big connection here with Tedero McMillan in this game. I know I picked him on the anytime touchdown last week. I think he's in the end zone this week at least once. At least once. If you want to be a gambling man, go ahead and look for that 2 touchdown line. I bet you it's like plus 600-700. Lay a $100 bill down there on there, right? Like, come up fast and then come back in here on Panthers on Tap, shoot us a super chat, and I'll take another shot with you. I am down to ride here. I want to do this. I ain't gonna say nothing about Shaw Smith-Wade. I ain't gonna do it. Nope. Ain't gonna happen, Thick Nasty. I am ready to do this. Anyone know what our uni combo is this week?
Yeah, it's blue jerseys, black helmets. I don't know what the pants are.
I believe it'll probably be black pants if I had to guess, because that's typically what they do when they do the black helmet with the blue jerseys. They typically go black pants as well. I think we're doing it, man. 26-23. I think they start out playing well. I don't know they necessarily jump out into a huge lead. I could even see them trailing like 10-6 at halftime or something like that. But you get some points on the board. You come out second half after you start to adjust. We have seen Dave Canales been able to adjust after halftime. I think that that's an integral point for this team. Raheem Morris on the road. Let's see what happens, man. This is not J.J. McCarthy. This is Bryce Young, and this is Bryce Young who just saw and reminded himself that he's Bryce fucking Young. 26-23 Carolina.
I like it. All right, let's get to our bet week 3 parlay. I think we sucked last week. I'm not going to try to hide that. We got our asses kicked in that bet.
I was close to cashing that T-Mac anytime a couple times, though, man.
Well, let's go to the week 3 parlay here. If I can figure this thing out. I don't know. Where's something in here? I know I am. There we go.
Keep moving these screens around.
Curtis is drunk, guys. Curtis is drunk.
I knew it. I know.
Did you take a shot of Eagle River?
StreamYard is creating whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what the hell it's called. But they're creating it's a whole thing. But anyway, week 3 parlay. Ricky, I'm gonna have you start because we're both in the same game here. And let folks know because I try to abbreviate what you put in there.
Yep.
Just to try to fit it, but let folks know what your bet is here.
Over 85.5 Ricky Raines yards. No. James Cook over 85.5 rushing and receiving yards. Negative 120. I guess the line's changed since I submitted the pick. It was negative 115. But here's the deal about James Cook on Thursday night against the Dolphins. I expect this game to get pretty out of hand early second half at the absolute latest, if I had to guess. But I don't think what we saw last week, right, is when that game started getting out of hand against the Jets. Who was the main beneficiary? Who showed out? Who was the cause? Because they didn't need Josh to throw the ball a whole lot. Now the Dolphins can be exploited against the pass. They can also be exploited against the run. The Dolphins could be exploited like a damn OnlyFans girl. Like they're getting butt naked every single way on this internet. And I got nothing against OnlyFans, by the way. I'm just saying, like, it is easy to see everything. I think that what they do, everyone's laughing now. It's uncomfortable. Ricky done made a damn controversial joke. Sorry about that.
No, I
give
love
me
it.
some Buffalo trades. What you want me to
it.
do, man?
I love it.
Over 85.5 rushing and receiving, because you know what? With James Cook, man, he's explosive. We have seen him rack up big plays of 40-plus multiple times. So you give him 2 of those, and we're here. You give him 14 carries, I think you're there on just carries alone because of the chunk plays that he's going to rack up against Miami. Josh Allen doesn't need to do too much, man. And you know what? They're going to save their star quarterback, their MVP quarterback, if they don't have to use him. But they will not let up on a division rival. So I think James Cook continues to see carries even in the second half. Give me that. His average, by the way, rushing and receiving yards, 118 per game. So 85.5, you got a 33-yard cushion on that, and I like that.
Yeah, Ricky played it safe. Me and Bryson are rolling the dice here. I'm going to stick – I'll go next because it's the same game. Might be playing a little bit of fire. Ricky's saying they'll be down. I don't disagree with you with Miami. I think Mike McDaniel will be the first head coach fired this season. There you go. There's your first now, I don't even know if that's a hot take. That's going to happen. But Devon Achane, guy has scored in the last 2 games. He has scored 4 times against the Buffalo Bills in the last 4 matchups. So you got that riding on it. And he is only one of the bright spots of this Dolphins offense. There isn't many, but he's one of them. I do expect him to get in the end zone. He's had 6 total touchdowns in the games against the Buffalo Bills. So that's a pretty damn good odds. It's plus 120 on Bet 365. These are all Bet 365, by the way. That's why you were minus 120, Ricky. I tried to keep us all as one parlay on one app. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good one. And I honestly, all 3 of these, I think we have a pretty good shot here. And I know I said that last week, but I'll tell you what, last year we hit on a lot of bets throughout the season. So I'm hoping we get a bounce back this week. But Bryson, tell us about Dak Prescott over 275.
Guys, I was so surprised to see this at plus money. He's going to get up against the Chicago Bears this weekend. Week 1 made J.J. McCarthy look like a competent quarterback in this league. Let J.J. McCarthy lead a comeback in that game and look really good. And then we saw what happened the next week. And then the Chicago Bears the following week followed up with allowed Jared Goff to put a 50-burger on them and throw for 5 touchdowns. So I think the Cowboys' offense hasn't been the issue for them through the first 2 weeks. It's been their defense. Losing Micah Parsons might do that for you, but that's their owner Jerry Jones /GM, his fault. But I think Dak Prescott over 275, throwing to CeeDee Lamb, throwing to George Pickens, and their tight end. I think that this is a very easy bet to make when you're talking about the Chicago Bears defense, who loses Jalen Johnson, one of their better corners. I think that 275 is an easy mark to hit in this plus money. So I saw that and I was like, this is my bet. I'm benching on my own personal fantasy team, benching Bo Nix, who has been hot and cold to start the year, and starting Dak Prescott this week. I think 275 is an easy number to hit for Dak Prescott versus the Bears.
All righty. But anyway, that's BetStamp. We're through BetStamp. Signupexpert.com/Panthers. You can sign up for a sports book near you. Please use our designated link. We would appreciate it. The bet we have here, this parlay week 3, this is through Bet365. So take advantage of that.
And if you don't have a Bet365 account, that's the whole point of our landing page. You use the landing page to find the ones. And Bet365 probably has deals going on right now. If you put our landing page in, it will pull everything up and show you the deals that are up, man. We're trying to help y'all here. Go to the landing page, hit the damn links. I done it. I did it a couple different times. I got all these different accounts now.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you don't trust us, ask Alex. Alex has hit a couple times on some of our parlays and made several $100. And that man will only send us $1. I mean, I don't know. No, we love Alex. We appreciate him contributing to our parlays. But yeah, take advantage of this one before the odds go against you guys. But yeah, I mean, we got the game this week in home opener. I know Bryson is planning on going. I'll be there. Obviously, it's the home opener. I'd like to get Ricky to go.
I will not be there this time. I have birthday festivities still.
I know we're trying
Sunday evening, but the peer pressure is going to work soon.
It will eventually. But no, hey, we'll be at the Roaring Riot tailgate. That's honestly why I wore this shirt tonight. They're at a new location,
new spot. Yeah,
Elliott Street, 520 Elliott Street.
I knew you would know it. I knew it was something with an E. I almost said Elm Street, and I'm like, no, that's not right.
And look, if we got 700 people watching this show, man, just 50 of you show up to the Riot tailgate, man. Let's load that thing up. Show them that we love the new location. The Roaring Riot does great things for this Panthers fan base, man. I may actually, I'm not going to go to the game. I may try to get my ass up there and at least go to the tailgate.
You're going to be there. I will drag grass.
That is something that I really enjoy doing, man. That is great people up there. It is a really fun way to pregame and enjoy the environment of the game, even if you're not going. Come up there and tailgate. And you know what? If you guys can convince me, not these two guys, but if y'all come to the tailgate and you say, hey, yeah, I was watching Panthers on Tap, y'all convinced me to come. Maybe you convince me to go to a bar and watch the first half too. So come on up there and let's gamble on it and try our luck.
And while along those lines, if you guys go to the Roaring Riot tailgate and you see us, say hi. Don't be afraid. I don't know some of y'all what y'all look like, but come up to us. I'm sure you know what me and Bryson look like, and hopefully Ricky's there. If he isn't, again, we'll drag him there. We'll find a way to get him there.
Drag him.
But hey, do not be shy. Say hi to us. We'd love to chat. It's Bryson can speak to this. It's cool seeing y'all that have listened to us over the years and just chat about Panthers football before the game. We enjoy that. And hell, we might even take a shot with you.
That's the point of what we're doing here, talking ball all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So we hope to see some of y'all at the game. I don't know where Bryson is sitting. He hasn't told me yet, but I'm in 535. So if you're in that area, let me know.
Look at Thick coming up to one of us and be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Thick Nasty.
Hey.
Hey, Thick, nice to meet you, brother.
Dick, I would love to meet you. I would love to
no
meet
doubt
you.
about it, man. No doubt about it. That would be one of my
Please.
favorite introductions. You, DJ, Fish Nipples, and Pets in a Bathtub. If y'all all three walk up to me at the same time, y'all go ahead and dig my grave. I'm a happy man.
Amen.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, hey, we'll be happy to see all y'all this weekend. Do not be shy, and damn it, let's get a win against these Falcons. We deserve it.
Boys.
They've been running their damn mouths on Twitter for
Keep
too
pounding it.
damn
Happy
long.
birthday, baby. Love you.
Yes, happy birthday to Ricky's wife. Cheers to her. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, keep pounding.